I stood on the 2-meter platform in the training ground and looked down at my soldiers. Commander Lei, take 400 men from the 800 border troops and put them in the cavalry. Split the other 400 into 2 groups. One joins the heavy shield spearmen. The other joins the sword and shield troops. Lei Qianshan called back his answer from below. I kept giving orders. For the 1,000 new soldiers, 300 go to the heavy shield spearmen, 300 to the sword and shield troops, 300 form the sword and bow troops. The last 100 I will train myself. As my personal guard strike force, 500 cavalry plus 100 scouts will be led by Lei Qianshan and Jiang Xiaoyu. 600 heavy shield spearmen under Li Erniu. 600 sword and shield troops under Zhang Huazi. 300 sword and bow troops under Zhang Dashan. If I am not at the horse ranch, Bai Yushuang will handle everything there. If neither of us is around, head instructor Wang Hu will take charge. Is that clear? Over 2,000 soldiers shouted back at once, loud enough to shake the sky. In the days ahead, train hard. A harsher war is coming. Starting tomorrow, I will train with you. Now dismissed. I waved my hand and stepped down from the platform. Li Erniu looked at the soldiers scattering across the field and shook his head in wonder. I never thought our army would grow this much in less than a month. Don't just marvel at it, I said. You have 1 day to get your units in order. The big battle is close, and you already know what needs to be done. They all nodded and bowed. I turned to Bai Yushuang and Wang Hu. The days ahead will be hard on both of you. Wang Hu looked uneasy. Tiger, are we going to war again? The Hu tribe still have 60 or 70,000 men stationed in Anxi Commandery. Either we hit them, or they hit us. War can't be avoided. I understand, Wang Hu said, his face grim. Bai Yushuang turned to Sun Damon. Tomorrow you train with the troops. Riding in the morning, the 8 bloodblade strikes in the afternoon. Then I turned to Li Chang'an. Tomorrow you and the 100 guards train together too. Riding in the morning, blade strikes in the afternoon, archery in the evening. If you can outperform all 100 guards, I'll make you guard captain. Li Chang'an's face turned red with excitement. Bai Yushuang looked at me. With the 1,000 men from Ningxia Fort, we now have over 3,000 troops. Are we still selling horses? Sell 300 more? I said. Otherwise we won't have enough food to last, she nodded quietly. 3,000 troops, across the whole of Liangzhou. That was now a force that mattered. Mid-October, Linqing County Town, night, at the gate tower. I wasn't there, but I heard how it went. Magistrate Meng Jiwen stood holding a letter, his face changing color again and again. Constable Zhang, is this letter true or false? Constable Zhang Hua looked troubled. It should be true. Wei Ming wouldn't joke about something like this. The letter says the Black Mountain tribe will attack our town in 5 days. What do we do? Sir, we need to strengthen the defenses across the town, watch for Hu spies trying to open the gates from inside, and send someone to Anxi Commandery to ask for help. The county clerk, Zhou Yin, shook his head. 10,000 White Wolf troops are camped outside Anxi Commandery. Lord Qin and Commander Zhou won't spare soldiers to help us. Then it seems we're on our own, Meng Jiwen said, taking a deep breath. Sir, I think we should ask Ningxia Fort for help, Zhang Hua said suddenly, his eyes lighting up. Ningxia Fort barely has enough men to protect itself, Meng Jiwen said, shaking his head. You don't know, sir. My scouts tell me Ningxia Fort is strong now. They even took in the 800 border troops from Xishan Pass. And the man who challenged the Black Mountain camp alone, that was Vice Commander Wang Hu from Ningxia Fort. I heard he's the one behind the last 2 raids on the Hu camp too. Who is this Wang Hu? I've never heard of him before, Meng Jiwen said, curious. He's a new recruit from Annan Commandery. Less than 2 months in the army, and he's already killed over 100 Chang and Hu cavalry alone. The day he reported for duty at Anxi Commandery, he killed a Hu centurion right outside the city gate. His name spread through the whole commandery after that. A new recruit. That fierce, Zhou Yin said, in disbelief. If what you say is true, we can try asking Ningxia Fort and this Vice Commander Wang for help. But will they come? Meng Jiwen asked, worried. Sir, whether it works or not, we have to try. We can't just sit here and wait to die, Zhang Hua said firmly. He's right, Zhou Yin said. I suggest you write the letter now and beg Ningxia Fort to send troops. Fine, I'll try. In the meantime, strengthen our defenses, especially against the Hu spies hiding inside the town. We need to catch every one of them. Meng Jiwen said firmly. Zhang Hua and Zhou Yin both stood and bowed. That night, Ningxuan Fort sent 3 letters by arrow into 3 towns, Linqing, Shay, and Beishan, and none of them slept. After a night of talking it over, as the sky just started to turn light, all 3 towns sent messengers asking for help. 1 to Ningxuan Fort, 1 to Anxi Commandery, and 1 to Tangshan Fort. Back at Ningxuan Fort, in the meeting hall, I walked in that morning with Bai Shuang, Lei Qianshan, and a few others. Wei Ming was already laughing by the door. Wang Hu, you guessed right. Linqing County really did send someone. We're the only ones around strong enough to help them, I said, smiling. Unless they're fools, of course they'd come asking. So are we really going to send troops and help them fight off the Black Mountain tribe? Wei Ming asked. No rush yet. We'll decide once the fighting actually starts, I said, shaking my head. Magistrate Ming wants us to send men into the town to help defend it, Wei Ming said calmly. You want to go inside the town, Wei? I asked, smirking a little. Not me. Linqing County is nothing compared to our fort, Wei Ming said, shaking his head fast. Tell the messenger to bring word back to Magistrate Ming. Tell him we will help Linqing against the Black Mountain tribe. But when we move and how we fight, that's our business, I said calmly. Got it, Wei Ming said, nodding. 5 days later, smoke signals rose over Linqing County. A low horn sounded, and the whole town fell into panic. I wasn't there myself, but word came back to me of how it went. The Black Mountain tribe is really attacking, Constable Zhang Hua said, staring at the dark mass of Hu troops outside the walls. A squad leader's eyes shook as he looked at the 10 huge infantry blocks forming outside, with thousands of cavalry circling around them. Sir, can we hold the city, hold it or not? We have to try. If the city falls, none of us live, Zhang Hua said, his eyes hard. Magistrate Meng Jiwen walked out from the gate tower, calm despite the horn blast. So they're really attacking? Ningxuan Fort's warning was right. The Black Mountain tribe came prepared. Look, they already have siege ladders and battering rams ready, Zhang Hua said, pointing at the gear outside. Have we caught all the Hu spies? Meng Jiwen asked, his face going pale as he looked at the army of 10,000 outside. Archers are placed at all 4 gates. If any spy shows themselves, we kill them on sight, Zhang Hua said, his eyes sharp. Good. Tell everyone to stay strong. As long as we live, the city stands. If the city falls, we die with it, Meng Jiwen said, drawing his 3-foot sword. Zhang Hua bowed and went to check the wall defenses. Outside, the Hu commander Yu Dashan rode up with his officers to the front of the central infantry block, looking up at the city walls, which stood over 10 meters tall. Sir, our warriors can't wait any longer. Just give the order, a thick-bearded officer said. Tell the warriors, whoever climbs the wall first gets 1,000 gold and the rank of officer, Yu Dashan said, pointing his whip at the wall. The officer struck his chest with his fist and answered loudly. All troops ready. First and second blocks, attack. 2,000 Hu foot soldiers ran forward with ladders, screaming as they charged the wall. Archers ready, Zhang Hua shouted from the wall. 300 paces. 200. 100. 50. Arrows rained down on command. Hundreds of Hu soldiers fell, but many still reached the base of the wall. A bloody siege battle had begun. At the same time, Beishan and Shay counties faced the same attack. Luckily, both towns had prepared too, and held off the first wave. What's going on? Weren't the defenses supposed to be weak? Where are our spies inside the city? Yu Dashan's face turned dark as he watched nearly 1,000 of his 2,000 men fall in the blink of an eye. A thin officer in charge of spies looked confused. 5 days ago, the reports from inside showed nothing wrong. I don't know why their defenses suddenly got stronger. You fool. Has anyone sent word from inside these past few days? Yu Dashan shouted, a bad feeling growing in him. The city went under lockdown these past few days. No one in, no one out. That's why no reports came through, the officer admitted, ashamed. Idiot. 5 days with no word, and the city on lockdown. That means they already knew we were coming, Yu Dashan said, furious. Should we keep attacking then? An officer asked carefully. There's no turning back now. I refuse to believe 15,000 men can't take one small county town. Tell everyone to attack with everything. We don't stop until Linqing falls, Yu Dashan ordered coldly. The officers around him bowed in obedience. At sunset, Back at Ningxia Fort, I sat in the hall with the others, waiting. A scout ran in. Report, the Black Mountain Army has pulled back to camp. Linqing County still stands. Everyone in the hall let out a breath of relief. Tiger was right. The Hu really didn't take Linqing on the first day, Chen Ergus said, full of respect. The Black Mountain tribe wasn't fully ready on day one. They were counting on spies inside the city to help them, so they held back their full strength, I said, eyes narrowing. What matters now is tomorrow and the day after. If Linqing holds tomorrow too, we need to get ready to move. And if Linqing can't hold tomorrow, Chen Feng asked, hesitant. Then it'll be our turn to defend, I said, smirking at myself. Linqing has almost 4,000 soldiers and support troops together, plus over 10,000 able-bodied refugees inside. If they can't hold for even 2 days, there's no point sending help anyway, Li Jun said coldly. Magistrate Meng and Constable Zhang aren't fools. Holding for 2 days shouldn't be a problem. The real question is, what do we do on the 3rd day? Wei Meng said, looking straight at me. Which is the strongest cavalry unit in our whole empire? I asked suddenly. That would be the Black Cavalry, 20,000 strong, guarding the capital Yong'an, Wei Meng answered, not understanding why I asked. Then the day after tomorrow, we'll send the Black Cavalry to save Linqing County, I said, smiling. Where would we get Black Cavalry from? Li Erniu asked, confused. Wei Meng's eyes lit up with understanding. You mean dress our own cavalry up as the Black Cavalry, then attack the Black Mountain tribe? Exactly. We have 600 cavalry now. Tie branches to the horses' tails to kick up dust. Make it look like thousands of riders are charging. Even if it doesn't scare them off completely, it'll shake them hard, I explained. And if they don't fall for it? Are we really going to throw 600 riders against their thousands head-on? Bai Yushuang's eyes flashed with anger at the idea of me dressing up as the Black Cavalry. When 2 warriors meet on a narrow road, the braver one wins. If they see through it, then we fight to the death, I said calmly. Lei Qinshan stood up. I agree with Tiger. When 2 meet on a narrow road, the braver one wins. If we can beat back their first wave of cavalry, we can stop their whole attack. Wei Meng thought the plan was risky, but there didn't seem to be a better one on the table. Xiaoyu stood up. I agree with Tiger's plan. Worst case, we die. I'm not cavalry, but I'm with the plan too, Li Erniu said, raising his hand. Me too, Goa said. Agreed, agreed, agreed. The voices kept coming. Only Wei Meng and Bai Yushuang hadn't spoken yet. I'm with Wang Hu's plan too, Wei Meng said, raising his hand. I turned to Bai Yushuang, who had her lips pressed tight. Don't worry. With me there, I won't let our brothers die for nothing. She took a deep breath. I agree. Then it's settled, Wei Meng said firmly. Everyone, including me, follows Wang Hu's orders from here. Everyone bowed in agreement. 2 days later, at Linqing County, under the noon sun, a squad leader, blood on his face, walked up to Magistrate Meng and Constable Zhang, his voice rough. Sir, our losses are heavy. We can't hold much longer. Hold anyway. Send the reserves up to the wall. We hold until the Hu retreat, Zhang Hua said, his bloodshot eyes wide. The squad leader bowed and brought the last 800 reserve troops up to the wall. 3 days of constant attack had nearly wiped out Linqing's soldiers. Only this last group of 800 remained. Sir, once these 800 are gone, we'll have to put the able-bodied men of the town on the wall, Zhang Hua said, looking out at the Hu infantry forming up again outside. Any word from Ningxia Fort? Meng Jiwen asked, looking toward the southwest. Nothing. And even if they sent help, with the Hu still having 10,000 men out there, it might not matter, Zhang Hua said, looking at the 8 infantry blocks outside. The Black Mountain tribe has gone all in. They've turned 90% of their cavalry into foot soldiers now. They won't stop until they take this town, Meng Jiwen said, worry on his face. Their losses are just as bad as ours. If the city falls, they'll slaughter everyone to vent their anger, Zhang Hua said, despair creeping into his eyes. Then we cannot lose. Even if every able-bodied man in this city dies, the Hu will not set foot inside, Meng Jiwen said, raising his sword, his eyes set. Don't worry, sir. I'll hold them back even if it kills me, Zhang Hua said, grinding his teeth as he watched the Hu army surge forward. The horns sounded again, low and heavy. 8,000 Hu soldiers charged Linqing County like a flood. Catapults and archers pinned down the defenders so hard that Meng Jiwen and Zhang Hua couldn't even lift their heads. Outside, the Hu commander Yu Dashan, his face dark with rage, gave the order for a full attack. Today, lynching falls. I'll drink from the magistrate's skull. 3 days of siege had cost the Black Mountain tribe heavily. Fewer than 10,000 fighters remained. Now everyone except 2,000 scouts on patrol had joined the assault. He wanted to take the city today, then unleash his fury inside it. He'd already decided. Kill every man, young or old. Take the young women back to the grasslands, and burn the whole town to ash. The battlefield roared with screams. Arrows fell like rain from both sides. Whose soldiers dropped as they charged, and lynching soldiers fell from the wall. Brothers, don't let these Hu dogs get over the wall. Kill them. Zhang Hua roared through the arrow rain, and the bloodiest fighting yet began. Both sides seemed to know this was the final battle, and both threw in everything they had left. The fighting dragged through the whole afternoon. The western wall, the main battleground, fell and was retaken several times by Zhang Hua and his death squad. But slowly, the defenders on the western wall thinned out, until the Hu nearly held it completely. Zhang Hua pulled back with about 100 men to the gate tower, his face hollow. Magistrate, we're losing. So be it. I've been magistrate of Linqing for 3 years. Today I die with this town, Meng Jiwen said, and reached for his sword to end his own life. Wait, magistrate. Look outside the city. Zhang Hua grabbed the sword from his hand and pointed southwest. A deep rumble of hooves rolled across the battlefield like a war drum pounding in everyone's chest. Every eye, on the wall and in the Hu army below, turned toward the black tide rising in the southwest. Black armor, black horses, black spears, black demon masks. Everything about them was black. The Black Cavalry is here. The world trembles. It's our empire's finest. The Black Cavalry. Linqing is saved. Brothers, kill. Drive these Hu dogs off our wall. The court hasn't forgotten us. Heaven protects Linqing. Hope surged back into the defenders on the wall at the sight of that black wave. Meng Jiwen's eyes flickered with doubt. Could the empire's finest cavalry really have ridden thousands of miles to save one small county town like Linqing? Magistrate, our reinforcements are here. Now's the time to push back, Zhang Hua said. Doubts or not, this wasn't the moment to question it. He meant to use the chance to throw the Hu off the wall for good. Men, follow me. Kill, Meng Jiwen shouted, lifting his sword high. The Linqing soldiers on the wall roared with new fighting spirit and threw themselves back into the fight to retake the wall. Outside, a Hu cavalry officer rode up to Yu Dashan, panic on his face. Sir, it's bad. The Empire's Black Cavalry is here. Nonsense. The Black Cavalry is stationed in Yong'an, far from here. There's no way they could suddenly show up, Yu Dashan said, refusing to believe it. Sir, I swear it's true. It really is the Black Cavalry, the officer insisted. How many of them? Yu Dashan asked, his brow tightening. At least 5,000, by a careful guess, the officer said, swallowing hard. Take 2,000 scouts and stop their charge. And send word for all foot soldiers to fall back to camp and mount up, Yu Dashan ordered fast. Yes, sir. The officer turned and rode off to gather the scouts around the town, ready to block the Black Cavalry charge. The hoofbeats grew louder. The Chang and Hu riders circling the town could already see the cold eyes of the rider leading the black wave. That was me. A sharp shout cut through the battlefield. I charged alone, my 3-meter spear in hand, straight at hundreds of enemy riders gathered together. Kill him, a Hu officer shouted, furious that one rider dared charge his men. I closed the gap in a breath and killed 3 riders with one sweep of my spear. Anyone who blocks me dies, I roared. My horse screamed under me as I drove straight into the mass of riders. Flesh tore, blood sprayed, heads flew. Headless bodies dropped from their saddles one after another. Surrounded on every side, I cut down dozens of men without slowing, and the riders around me went pale with fear. Run, run. He's not human, one rider screamed, watching his comrades fall, and turned his horse to flee. Kill. Behind me, hundreds of my Black Cavalry caught up and tore into the broken, terrified enemy riders. Lei Qianshan, in his black armor, laughed as he swung his black blade, cutting down riders like cutting through melons, his eyes burning with excitement. I gave the orders as we rode. Bai Shuang, take 200 and hit their left flank. Lei Qianshan, take 200 and hit the right. Xiao Yu, take 200 and follow me into their center. The three of them broke off with their riders to follow my orders. After scattering hundreds of enemy riders, I led my 200 straight toward Yu Dashan's command position. Stop him! Yu Dashan's face went white with shock as he watched me break through hundreds of his men like nothing. He ordered his personal guard to block me. The Black Cavalry rides. Nothing under heaven can stand against us. I shouted, not even slowing for the 100 guards charging at me. One strike, and their lead officer fell from his horse. Kill! Xiao Yu's 200 riders followed close behind me, cutting down the scattered guards. My eyes found Yu Dashan through the chaos, surrounded by his men, and I drove my horse straight at him. Stop him! Stop him! Now! Yu Dashan shouted, his face draining of color as he felt my eyes lock onto him. Anyone who blocks me dies. My spear swept through anyone who got close. No one could reach me. Bodies piled up behind my horse as I rode. Sir, retreat. This man is unstoppable. None of us can hold him back. An officer shouted at Yu Dashan, panic in his voice. Yu Dashan's face twisted with rage, but he finally gave the order to retreat. You won't escape me, I said, and pushed my horse harder, cutting down every rider who tried to slow me on the way. Protect the commander. Run, for officers rode together to block my path, hoping to buy Yu Dashan time. Worthless dogs, you dare stand in my way? My eyes went cold. My spear struck 4 times like lightning, and all 4 officers fell. 4 officers together couldn't land a single hit on him. This man is a monster. Run, run, he's not human. Heaven sent him to punish us. Wait for me. I don't want to die. The Chang and Hu riders broke completely, fleeing in every direction. By then, Bai Shuang and Lei Qianshan's 400 riders had already smashed into the Hu infantry, and the whole battlefield dissolved into chaos. With no more riders left to block me, I caught up to Yu Dashan as he tried to flee. My spear became a black dragon and punched straight through his heavy body. He let out a scream that tore across the battlefield as I lifted his massive body into the air on the end of my spear, his death ugly and complete. The commander is dead. Run, run, the Qian killed our commander. Commander, retreat. Fall back to Shishan Pass. Seeing Yu Dashan killed in one strike, the remaining riders broke completely. Panic spread through the whole battlefield. Brothers, kill. As the Hu army collapsed into full retreat, Wei Meng and the others, who had been hiding 3 miles back, brought 2,500 foot soldiers pushing onto the field. Zhang Hua, who had just retaken the wall, saw the Wei banner appear on the battlefield, his face lighting up. It's Ningxia Fort's troops. The Hu army is breaking. Constable Zhang, I order you now. Take all the men in the city and chase down these Hu dogs, Meng Jiwen shouted, full of fire. Zhang Hua bowed and led over 1,000 soldiers charging out through the gates. I lifted Yu Dashan's body on my black iron spear and shouted across the battlefield, the chieftain is dead. Who dares face me now? Chen Feng, Goa, and Li Erniu's infantry reached the edge of the field, cutting down the scattered Chang and Hu riders and foot soldiers one by one. Seeing the enemy completely broken, I called all my cavalry together, ready to push the attack into their camp. Lei Qianshan here, Jiang Xiaoyu here, Bai Shuang here. The 3 of them gathered with their 600 riders around me, every one of them looking at me. With something like awe? Men, follow me, charge. I threw Yu Dashan's body to the ground and led the 600 riders straight at the Hu camp. Bai Shuang, Lei Qianshan, and Jiang Xiaoyu roared and rode hard behind me, straight into the enemy camp. I led the charge, my spears sweeping aside the wooden barricade at the camp gate, sending it flying 10 meters through the air. My 600 riders poured in behind me, cutting down riders still scrambling onto their horses. The fighting ran from evening into deep night, until the main Hu force broke completely. Only then did I call off the chase. At the gates of Linqing County, Meng Jiwen walked out, blood covering him, his eyes full of disbelief as he watched my men and the town's soldiers clearing the battlefield. We really won. Magistrate, these men are officers from Ningxia Fort. They're the ones who led the fight against the Black Mountain tribe, Zhang Hua said, bringing Chen Feng, Goa, Li Erniu, and Chen Ergu to the gate. Where is General Wei? Meng Jiwen asked, confused. Our commander had other matters to handle, so he sent us to bring help to Linqing. Chun Feng answered for the group. Whatever the reason, thank you all for coming. I'm grateful beyond words, and so are the people of this town, Meng Jiwen said, bowing low without any pride in his manner. No need for that, sir. This is just our duty, Chin Feng said, bowing back. General, were those black-armored riders the Black Cavalry from Yong'an? Meng Jiwen asked, hope in his eyes. Chin Feng laughed. No, that wasn't the Black Cavalry. That was Tiger's own black-armored cavalry, his own creation. And who is this Tiger you speak of? Meng Jiwen asked quietly, though he had already guessed. Tiger is Wang Hu, our vice commander at Ningxia Fort. He's still chasing down the last of the Black Mountain forces with his Black Cavalry. He should be back soon, Chin Feng said, pride clear on his face. A messenger rode up. Officer Chun, Tiger's orders. No soldiers enter the town. Everyone stays at the Hu camp instead, and no one comes or goes from the camp without his order. Tell Tiger that Chin Feng accepts the order and will head to the camp right away. Chin Feng said, serious. The messenger rode off without even glancing at Meng Jiwen or Zhang Hua. Magistrate, you heard the order. We'll be on our way, Chin Feng said, bowing to Meng Jiwen before leading his men off. An official trailing behind Meng Jiwen muttered, this Tiger sure has some nerve. Zhang Hua turned with a sharp look, and the official shrank back, saying nothing more. If General Wang hadn't crushed the Hu army, none of you would even be standing here to complain, County Clerk Zhou Yin said coldly. Constable Zhang, Clerk Zhou, I leave the town in your hands. Keep the gates shut tight tonight, in case the Hu come back, Meng Jiwen said calmly. Both men bowed. At the Black Mountain camp, Xiaoyu came running up to me after checking the whole place over. Tiger, we hit the jackpot. 10,000 war horses and mountains of food. I pulled off my black iron mask, my eyes sharp. Once Chin Feng and the others take over the camp, all of you rest up well. Pick 2 horses each. I'm taking you all on something big. I hadn't expected the Black Mountain tribe to fall apart so easily. It changed how I was thinking. The 3 tribes had numbers, sure, but days of attacking that wall had worn them down hard, much weaker than I'd guessed. With their main force crushed, a bold idea started forming in my head. Tiger, we're here, right on cue. Chun Feng and the others rode up to the north gate of the camp. Brother Chun, the camp's yours now. Split half the food with Linqing County. The rest of the horses and supplies stay with us at Ningxia Fort, I said. Goa, Erniu, Dashan, take your men, 2 horses each, and head to Zhao family village, 10 miles southeast of Shishan Pass, to meet up with Wei at first light tomorrow. They all bowed, no one questioning the order, only following it. I'd proven myself again and again by now. Nobody in the whole empire could match a string of wins like this. After this battle, I'd become something close to legend among the men of Ningxia Fort. No one could replace me in their eyes. All right, everyone rest up, check your horses and gear. More hard fights are waiting for us, I called out, jumping down from my horse. Everyone shouted back and dismounted. At midnight, I gave the order at the camp gate. After 2 hours of rest, 600 black-armored riders plus 200 personal guards rode out with me, vanishing into the night. At dawn, Sheikh County. As the red sun rose, the White Wolf tribe's camp stirred to life fast. War drums pounded, and thousands of their soldiers poured out, forming up outside the town walls. At the camp gate, a White Wolf officer spoke to the young Prince Tai Lu, who sat on his horse. Second Prince, today I will take Sheikh County, or I'll answer for it with my life. Remember those words, General Woli Tai. I'll be waiting for good news, Tai Lu said, his eyes full of killing intent as he looked at the crowded walls of Sheikh. Woli Tai shouted his answer and rode off toward the south gate with 100 personal guards. 10 miles outside Sheikh's south gate, in the woods, Xiaoyu came back from scouting and crouched down next to me. Tiger, the White Wolf tribe is so cocky they didn't even send out scouts. They don't think much of our men at all. The White Wolf tribe has 30,000 men. 10,000 are still watching Anshi Commandery. In this whole region, who else but us could come after them? I said, smirking. They'd never guess we'd ride 100 miles just to hit them. The White Wolf tribe is a lot stronger than Black Mountain. Even after 3 days of fighting, they probably still have over 10,000 men left, Bai Yushuang said, her voice heavy. Doesn't matter. This time we just need to break their main infantry force. No need to fight them to the last man, I said, shaking my head. Following you, Tiger, I'd charge into 10,000 men without blinking. Hell, 100,000, Lei Qianshan said. By now he'd been completely won over by what he'd seen of my fighting, and looked at me like I was some kind of idol. Heh, my brother Tiger is unbeatable. The White Wolf tribe is nothing, Xiaoyu added, laying it on thick enough to make Bai Yushuang roll her eyes, though everyone else around just nodded along like he had a point. Li Chang'an's eyes were full of hunger. Tiger, when do we move? No rush. We wait until they start fighting, I said, looking north, catching the faint sound of a war horn. Bai Yushuang turned to Xiaoyu. Keep scouting ahead. Make sure there are no Hu scouts along our path. Xiaoyu nodded and rode off again. An hour later, he came back. Tiger, Sister Bai, the White Wolf tribe and Shay County are in full battle now. Catapults, battering rams, even siege towers are up. Everyone mount up. Target Shay County. Steady pace, I said, and we all swung onto our horses. Outside the south gate of Shay County, the officer Woolly Tai sat on his horse, sword raised. Push harder. Anyone who fails to take this city today answers to me. Thousands of White Wolf foot soldiers charged the wall through a storm of arrows, siege towers, and ladders and rams, all moving at once. On the wall, County Officer Li he shouted himself raw trying to direct the defense, but he couldn't slow the advance. The fighting ran from morning to noon. White Wolf troops cycled through wave after wave and broke onto the wall more than once. The defenders were exhausted, covered in blood, barely holding on. Then came a deep rumble of hooves from behind the White Wolf army, shaking the ground. Prince Tai Lu frowned, looking at the black wave and dust rising in the southwest. Where did this cavalry come from? Could be the Iron Savage tribe, or what's left of Black Mountain. Officer Tortai answered. Send scouts to check now, Tai Lu ordered. Tortai signaled his guard captain, who rode off with 100 riders toward the southwest. I gave the order. My 800 riders closed to within 3 miles of the White Wolf army in a blink and spotted the 100 riders racing toward us. Bai Yushuang, Lei Qianshan, and I rode at the front. As the enemy riders closed in, the 3 of us cut through them like blades, splitting their formation into 3 pieces. One pass, and the 100 riders were nearly wiped out. The few survivors fled back toward their camp. Tai Lu and Tortai saw it all happen. Tortai, get everyone in camp mounted now. I want this cavalry destroyed, Tai Lu said, his face dark as he watched our black wave close in. My prince, that looks like the Empire's Black Cavalry. We should hold back and learn more before we commit to a fight, Tortai said carefully. My White Wolf riders have never feared anyone. Sound the horn, gather the men. I want to see how strong this so-called greatest cavalry under heaven really is, Tai Lu said, refusing to listen. Yes, my prince. Tortai had no choice but to follow the order and start calling the men together. Lei Qianshan looked toward the White Wolf camp. Tiger, looks like they're gathering their riders. Ignore them. Hit their siege troops directly, I said, cold, and turned my horse to lead the charge straight at the White Wolf infantry attacking the wall. Tai Li's face went pale with rage when he saw us change direction. Damn it, they're going for our siege troops. Block them. Tortai saw the same thing and led his now gathered 1,000 riders straight at my 800. The 3 of us rode point and drove straight into the enemy infantry. My 800 riders cut through them like a black blade, splitting thousands of foot soldiers into 2 halves. Hundreds went down under our horses or on our spears. Keep pushing, I shouted after we'd already dropped hundreds of them, and wheeled around for another pass. Lei Qianshan roared, swinging his blade left and right, cutting down soldier after soldier. As we kept tearing through their infantry, Tortai's 1,000 riders finally caught up, but the battlefield was so packed with bodies and chaos that his riders could barely move. Bye, Lei. Keep cutting through them. I'll go play with their cavalry, I said, and turned my black iron spear toward Tortai's 1,000 riders, riding in completely alone. Everywhere I passed, bodies piled up. Kill him, Tortai shouted, shocked that one man would charge 1,000 riders alone. My spear swept through everything in reach. Anyone it touched fell dead or wounded. The riders surrounded me, swords raised, all striking down at once. Steel rang against steel. A dozen blades broke clean in half against my spear, and the riders around me froze in shock. In that moment of hesitation, I swung my spear in a full circle. A dozen throats opened at once, and that many riders dropped from their horses, dead before they hit the ground. On the wall, Officer Leahy's eyes lit up. It's the Black Cavalry. Our reinforcements are here. Brothers, kill. The defenders on the wall saw the black riders tearing through the enemy below and found new strength, fighting back hard. Soon the White Wolf soldiers who'd made it onto the wall were thrown back down, and they had nothing left to push another attack with. Their infantry, once thousands strong, was now scattered and broken, with only a handful making it back to camp. Anyone who blocks me dies. My eyes burned as I cut my way through the ring of riders around me, searching the crowd until I spotted Tortai. I turned my horse straight at him. Stop him, Tortai called out, calm despite it all, directing more riders to surround me. Let's see if you can, I said, smiling. Days of killing had pushed my stats through the roof. By now, even a 7th-rank warrior might not be my match. Tortai saw his hundreds of riders couldn't stop me alone on my horse. Fear flashed across his face, and he shouted out an order. Arrows hissed through the air at me. I swung my black iron spear and knocked every single one out of the sky. Not one touched me. Shoot the horse, Tortai shouted, panicking after watching me block over a dozen arrows without a scratch. I dug my heels into the stirrups and launched myself into the air, stepping across the heads of a dozen White Wolf riders, closing fast on Tortai. When I was less than 10 meters from him, an arrow screamed toward my head. I knocked it away with my spear and used the momentum to drop onto a horse beneath me. Thank you, my prince, for saving me, Tortai said, seeing that the shot had come from Tai Lu, who'd ridden up just in time. You got lucky. Won't be so lucky next time, I said, grinning at the shaken Tortai as Tai Lu arrived with another 1,000 riders. Then I spurred my horse and broke out of the circle. Tai Lu rode up beside Tortai and gave the order to chase me down, swearing he'd capture and kill me. Brothers, fall back, I shouted, riding hard until I reached Bai Yushuang, Lei Qianshan, and the rest. Let's move, Lei Qianshan shouted, and our 800 riders followed me north. Chase them down. Leave no one alive, Tai Lu ordered, now with over 2,000 riders gathered around him, watching us ride off. Tortai answered and led the 2,000 riders after us. The hoofbeats grew louder behind us. I slowed my pace at the front of our 800. Tiger, they're catching up, Lei Qianshan said, glancing back at the mass of White Wolf riders closing in. It's fine. You all go ahead. I'll hold them off, I said, then turned to Li Chang'an. Give me the bow. I wheeled my horse around, took the bow and quiver from him, and waited quietly for the 2,000 riders to arrive. Bai Yushuang turned to Xiaoyu. Take the main group 30 miles ahead to Lianghe village and wait for us. We'll catch up soon. Xiaoyu nodded and led the riders on, leaving just me, Lei Qianshan, and Bai Yushuang behind. As the 2,000 riders closed in, I drew my bow, knocked 3 arrows at once, and pulled the string back to its full draw. I let go. 3 arrows shot out like black falling stars, straight into the mass of 2,000 riders. The 3 arrows punched through 9 riders before driving into the ground, and over 100 riders nearby broke into panic. Anyone who comes closer dies, I shouted, standing on my stirrups, drawing again. 3 more arrows, aimed at the riders leading the charge. I released. 3 more arrows, like the hand of death, took 9 more lives in an instant. The terrifying force behind each shot left Tortai pale with fear. I felt the rush building and drew again, this time aiming straight at Tortai and the well-armored officers near him. The moment I loosed the arrows, Tortai ducked low and dodged the one meant for him. The 2 officers beside him weren't so lucky. Both arrows punched clean through their chests, and they dropped from their horses. Hold! Stop advancing, Tortai shouted, completely shaken. He hadn't expected my archery to be just as terrifying as my swordsmanship. Tai Lu rode up fast with 100 personal guards. Why have you stopped? My prince, that man's archery is monstrous. He just killed 2 of my officers with 3 arrows in one shot, and nearly got me too, Tortai said, ashamed. 3 arrows at once. That good. I want to see this for myself, Tai Lu said. Surrounded by his guards, he rode to the front of the 2,000 riders, his eyes locked on me as I stood on my horse. Care to trade a shot with me? Tai Lu called out, standing on his own horse, 100 paces away. Why not? I said, smirking. Then take this. Tai Lu set his stance, gripped the bow, drew the string, and let an arrow fly straight at me. A child's trick, I said, unimpressed, and fired 3 arrows of my own, one to meet his arrow head-on. The other 2 aimed at the 2 white wolf banners behind him. Steel rang against steel as my arrow split his arrow clean down the middle at the tip. The broken arrowhead kept flying, slicing forward, straight toward Tai Li's body. "My prince, watch out," Tortai shouted, seeing the broken arrowhead straight for him. 2 sharp cracks sounded. Tai Li dodged just in time, but the 2 banners behind him snapped clean in half, sliced through by my other 2 arrows. Tai Li's eyes burned with rage. 3 arrows at once, beating my shot, and cutting down both my banners. "This man cannot be allowed to live. Come after me again, and I'll kill you," I said, firing my last 3 arrows, then turned and rode off with Bai Yu Shuang and the others. Tortai watched us disappear into the distance, his face complicated. He knew this archery duel had hit Tai Li's confidence hard. Tai Lu had always called himself the best archer of the younger generation on the grasslands, and within his first days in the Qian Empire, someone had taught him a brutal lesson. Worse, my last words as I rode off had clearly shaken him. "Not a word of this to anyone today," Tai Lu said, his face dark, turning his horse back toward camp without looking back. "Anyone who disobeys dies." Tortai looked at the county walls still standing, then at the black dots of my riders fading into the distance, and sighed inside. This battle, the White Wolf tribe had lost completely. On the walls of Sheikh County, Officer Li he looked out at the scattered bodies below and the White Wolf riders pulling back to camp, his eyes bright with joy. "Brothers, we won. We won. We won. Thank God for those black-armored riders. We held the city." Who were they? I've never seen riders like that before. Maybe the Empire's strongest Black Cavalry, but they're stationed way off in Yong'an. How could they get here so fast? Whoever they were, they're the saviors of Sheikh County. The soldiers on the wall cheered, celebrating their survival, every one of them grateful to the 800 black-armored riders who had saved their town. At Beishan County, Sheikh Village, Xiaoyu came riding back from the village. "Tiger, I checked the whole place. No survivors. Every man, woman, and child dead." We rode up to find a dozen young men hanging from a tree at the edge of the village, while Xiaoyu and a few scouts walked out from the houses. "Cut them down. Bury them together," I said, looking up at the bodies, something stirring deep inside me. "And send someone to check on Beishan County, see how the fighting's going there." I'd seen too much of this on the road already. Villages that resisted even a little got slaughtered by the 3 tribes, and the dead men were strung up at the village entrance to scare the other villages around. Xiaoyu nodded, had the bodies brought down, then rode off with 7 or 8 scouts toward Beishan County, a dozen miles away. I turned to Lei Qianshan. "Have everyone rest at the village. Count the men. When Xiaoyu gets back, we move out again." He bowed and went to handle it. When we counted, we had 720 riders left out of 800. 2 battles had cost us over 70 men. Around 5 in the evening, Xiaoyu and the others made it back safe. "Tiger, there's a huge battle going on outside Beishan County. Looks like Tangshan Fort's troops are hitting the Iron Savage infantry from behind," Xiaoyu said, jumping off his horse. "Everyone mount up. We ride to Beishan County now," I said, deciding on the spot. Everyone packed away their dried meat and flatbread and climbed back onto their horses. I gave the order, and over 700 riders followed me hard toward Beishan County. A dozen miles wasn't far. It took us barely the time for a cup of tea to reach the edge of the battlefield outside Beishan County. The whole field was chaos. 10,000 Iron Savage infantry pushed against the county wall while fighting Tangshan Fort's 3,000 soldiers behind them. Meanwhile, thousands of Iron Savage cavalry kept hitting the flanks and rear of the Tangshan troops, clearly trying to surround and wipe them out completely. "Brothers, hold." Lu Jingbei, leading the 3,000 Tangshan soldiers, was trapped in the middle of it, regret written across his face. He shouldn't have rushed in to help Beishan so carelessly. He'd walked his men straight into an Iron Savage trap. Sure, his charge had helped the county hold out, but now he and his 3,000 men were caught in the same net. Surrounded by thousands of Iron Savage riders, he couldn't advance or retreat. At this rate, his whole force would be wiped out before the day ended. Just as Lu Jingbei was giving up hope, a black wave surged up from the south, and the roar that came with it shook something loose in him. A messenger on horseback shouted with excitement. "Officer Liu, those look like our men." A squad leader's face lit up. "Looks like the Black Cavalry. Did the court actually send troops? Whoever it is, as long as they're here to help us, that's all that matters. Tell the men to fight hard. Our reinforcements have arrived," Liu Zhengbei shouted, gripping his spear. I gave the orders fast as we closed in on the battlefield. "Lei Qianshan, take 300 and hit their cavalry's left flank. Bai Yushuang, take 300 and hit the right flank. The rest, with me." I led the remaining 100-plus riders straight at the thickest mass of Iron Savage cavalry. Break their cavalry, and the infantry wouldn't matter anymore. Lei Qianshan and Bai Yushuang took their riders and charged the flanks. I stayed at the front, my black iron spear sweeping aside anything in my path, riding straight into the heart of the enemy cavalry like there was nothing there to stop me, tearing a wide gap through their thickest formation. Liu Zhengbei's eyes went wide with shock when he saw the black iron spear in my hands cutting through the densest part of the enemy line. "That's my family's black iron spear. That's Wang Hu." I broke through the encirclement, pulled off my black iron mask, and laughed when I saw him staring at me, wide-eyed. "Brother Liu, I'm here. Brother Tiger, it's really you." Liu Zhengbei's eyes lit up with excitement, like he wanted to run over and grab me in a hug right there. "Let's deal with these Hu dogs first. Catch up later. Pull your men back now. Fight as you retreat," I said, worried about hitting his own soldiers by accident. So I told him to ease his men out of the fight slowly. Seeing how fierce I was, Liu Zhengbei gave the order for his men to fall back step by step, while he dismounted and pushed to the front line himself, holding the formation steady. Up in a watchtower at the Iron Savage camp, the tribe's commander, Furtai, shouted down. "Who are these people? Where did they come from?" His deputy commander, Erdongshan, looked puzzled. "Looks like the Empire's Black Cavalry, but something's off about them. Whoever they are, wipe them out," Furtai snapped, furious. The battle had been going his way until this cavalry showed up out of nowhere, and now everything was turning unclear. "Send word. Tell Helium and Timuer to throw everything at this black-armored cavalry. Kill every last one of them," Erdongshan ordered. A messenger at the base of the tower rode off toward the camp gate to deliver the order. I'd been watching the battlefield the whole time, and that scene at the tower caught my eye immediately. "Catch the bandit. Catch the leader first. There you are." I'd finally found them. I locked onto the two men watching from the tower, Furtai and Erdongshan. They had to be the commanders of this whole Iron Savage army. Nobody else on a battlefield like this could afford to just stand and watch so calmly. And below the tower, hundreds of elite Iron Savage cavalry had gathered, clearly a commander's personal guard. Regular Hu riders wore simple leather or no armor at all. Only a commander's personal guard wore matching iron armor, head to toe. That alone told me everything I needed to know about who those men on the tower really were. With my 700 riders thrown into the mix, the already chaotic battlefield turned even messier. The unprepared Iron Savage cavalry had no idea what hit them when my black-armored riders appeared out of nowhere. Thousands of their riders fell into disorder, and Lei Qianshan and Bai Yushuang tore through them without mercy. "Xiaoyu, stay close to me," I said, my eyes locked on the watchtower, and led 100-plus riders forward, scattering every Iron Savage rider in our path. Nothing could stop us. From the watchtower, Erdongshan spotted my small group moving fast. "Furtai, that cavalry looks like it's coming straight for us. 100-something riders daring to charge our camp? Duojier, take care of them," Furtai snapped, full of contempt, ordering one of his officers below. "Yes, General." Duojier took 300 personal guards from the camp and rode out to meet me. "Good, come right in," I said, grinning as I saw them charge out, and drove my spear straight at Duojier leading the pack. Duojier roared and thrust his spear at my chest. I dodged it easily, and my black iron spear punched straight through his heart. I lifted his body high into the air on my spear, and the 300 guards behind him froze in horror. "Duojier, dead in one move," Erdongshan said from the tower, stunned. "Impossible. Even a 5th-rank warrior couldn't kill Duojier in one strike," Furtai said. He'd always trusted Duojier's strength, but what he'd just seen made no sense to him. "Anyone who blocks me dies," I laughed and threw Duojier's body at the riders facing me. The impact knocked 7 or 8 of them off their horses, and I drove my 100-plus riders through the gap. Kill. Xiaoyu and the rest followed close behind me, cutting down the Iron Savage elite guards one after another. Furtai, we need to retreat now. He's coming for us, Erdongshan said, panic rising as he watched me tear through their personal guard like nothing. Furtai felt the same fear. What I'd shown was beyond anything he'd imagined. No normal man could fight like that. Die, all of you. My spear kept swinging, scattering the riders around me in every direction. I broke through their 300 elite guards completely, opening a clear path straight to the camp, and chased after Furtai and Erdongshan, who only had a dozen riders left with them. Stop him. Furtai ordered his last guards to block me as he felt me closing in. Where do you think you're running? I shouted, and jumped my horse clean over a barricade, landing right in the middle of the dozen guards like something out of a nightmare. Blood sprayed. It took less than 10 breaths before every one of them was dead. Who is this man? I've never heard of him, Erdongshan shouted at Furtai as they fled. I don't know. Every young warrior of note in the Empire is either at the border or in Yong'an. I've never heard this name, Furtai said, his face dark with worry. Just then, 2 arrows hissed in from behind and struck both of them square in the body, knocking them off their horses to the ground. My riders caught up and surrounded the 2 fallen men. Xiaoyu jumped down and checked them. Tiger, they're both dead. Both had taken arrows straight through the chest. Cut off their heads and take their belt tokens. Carry them around the battlefield and announce it 3 times, I said, my voice cold. Xiaoyu nodded and got to work fast, slicing off both heads and pulling 2 golden tokens from their robes. With Xiaoyu holding both heads, I turned my horse and rode out of the camp. Outside, the thousands of Iron Savage cavalry and nearly 10,000 infantry were leaderless now, and the battlefield had turned into total chaos, soldiers breaking and running everywhere. Your commanders are dead. Surrender, and you will not be killed, I shouted as I rode along the edge of the chaos. Your commanders are dead. Surrender, and you will not be killed. Xiaoyu and Li Chang'an rode behind me, each holding a head up on a spear, shouting the same words. Those heads, those are really the 2 commanders. Furtai and Erdongshan are both dead. We've lost. Run. Both commanders are dead. The Qian army is here. Everyone run. With both of their leaders dead, panic spread through the whole battlefield, and Iron Savage riders scattered in every direction. Fall back. Fall back. A few officers gathered together and ordered the infantry to retreat. Seeing the Iron Savage infantry break and run, Lu Zhengbei seized the moment and led his 3,000 Tangshan soldiers in a wild chase. Brothers, kill. On the other side, Lei Qianshan and Bai Yushuang joined their riders together and began chasing down the fleeing Iron Savage cavalry too. Brothers, kill them all. On the walls of Beishan County, Magistrate Wang Dequan watched the enemy break and run, shouting with joy. We won. We won. County Officer Wu Gang bowed. Sir, let me lead men out to chase down these Hu dogs. Go. Get out there fast. Join up with Tangshan Fort and the Black Cavalry to finish them off, Wang Dequan said, waving his hand. Wu Gang bowed and led over 1,000 Beishan soldiers out through the gates in pursuit. The whole battle, from the moment my 700 riders joined in, ran clear into the night before it finally ended. The next morning, after a short rest, Lu Zhengbei and I met up at the gate of the Iron Savage camp, where Magistrate Wang Dequan and his officials were waiting for us. I am Wang Dequan, Magistrate of Beishan County. Greetings to both generals. Thank you for your help in this battle. Without you, this whole county would have burned to the ground, Wang Dequan said, bowing low, real gratitude in his voice. Defending our land and fighting off invaders is simply our duty as soldiers of the Empire. No need for such thanks, Lu Zhengbei said warmly. Magistrate Wan, there are over 2,000 Iron Savage prisoners left in the camp. They're yours to deal with now, I said. May I ask your name, General? Are you with the Black Cavalry? Wang Dequan asked, full of respect. My name is Wang Hu. I'm Vice Commander at Ningxian Fort. These are our own riders from Ningxian Fort, not the Imperial Black Cavalry, I said plainly. Wang Dequan's round, pale face went slack with shock. So you're the General Wang Hu whose name has spread across all of Liangzhou, Magistrate Wan. Brother Lu and I need to head to Xishan Pass now. The cleanup here is in your hands, I said plainly, no pride in my voice. His smile faded. Xishan Pass? General, are you planning to take it back? The Black Mountain tribe is already crushed. The White Wolf tribe took heavy losses from my ambush. The Iron Savage tribe has fully collapsed. This is the best chance we'll get to retake Shishan Pass, I said firmly. You beat the Black Mountain and White Wolf tribes too? Wang Dequan's shock kept growing. I killed both commanders of the Black Mountain tribe myself. Their remaining riders scattered. I ambushed the White Wolf tribe outside Shea County and cost them over 10,000 men. Counting the 10,000 still watching Anshi Commandery, they should have about 20,000 men left, I said. So, I want to warn you. If I take Shishan Pass, make sure Beishan County keeps its gates well guarded. In case the White Wolf tribe comes for revenge, I understand. Thank you for the warning, General, Wang Dequan said, nodding hard, still stunned. Then we'll be on our way. The supplies and horses in this camp are yours to watch over for now. We'll sort out the split when Brother Lu and I return victorious, I said, mounting my horse, bowing to him. Don't worry, generals. Beishan County won't take a single coin of the Iron Savage spoils. It's all yours to decide, Wang Dequan said, bowing back. The food in the camp, you can hand out to the people. Keep the rest of the horses and supplies sealed for now, Lu Zhongbei said, mounting up beside me. Thank you both. On behalf of the people of Beishan, I'm deeply grateful, Wang Dequan said, bowing almost to 90 degrees. No need for that, magistrate. We're heading out, I said, and Lu Zhongbei and I turned our horses and rode off. After watching us disappear, Officer Wu Gang walked up to Wang Dequan. Sir, what do we do with the 2,000 Iron Savage prisoners in the camp? Wang Dequan's face turned cold. Kill them all. But General Wang shouted that surrendering men wouldn't be killed, Wu Gang said, eyes widening slightly. That was Wang Hu said it, not me. And besides, how exactly are you planning to guard over 2,000 prisoners? Wang Dequan said. He understood it well enough. Wang Hu had left those prisoners for him on purpose. If he couldn't handle even this much, there'd be no point trying to build a relationship with Wang Hu going forward. Looking at what Wang Hu had pulled off these past few days, it wouldn't be long before the court rewarded him, and he rose fast, becoming a name that mattered in the whole empire. Now was the time to get close to him, not later. Understood, sir, Wu Gang said, nodding, something cold settling into his eyes. Killing prisoners wasn't pretty, but the three Hu tribes had committed terrible crimes across Anshi Commandery. Death was already more mercy than they deserved. With that settled, Wu Gang led over 1,000 Beishan soldiers toward the Iron Savage camp, grim and fast. Soon, screams and pleas for mercy rose from inside the camp. Lu Zhongbei, not far off yet, frowned at the sound. Brother Tiger, did you leave those 2,000 prisoners for Beishan County on purpose? Lu Zhongbei asked, steady on his horse. You think they shouldn't be killed, Brother Lu? I asked back, smiling. He hesitated, then took a deep breath and let it go. Brother Lu, will you come with me to Shishan Pass? I asked, the corner of my mouth lifting. Shishan Pass has high walls, cliffs on both sides, and the Ningyi River running around it. How could we possibly take it with the men we have? Lu Zhongbei said, realizing I actually meant to go through with it. The Iron Savage and Black Mountain tribes are both broken now. Only the White Wolf tribe still has 20,000 men left. If we move on Shishan Pass before they can react, we can take it, I said. And I'll tell you straight, Brother Lu, days ago, I already sent Wei Ming with a few hundred men, dressed as Black Mountain stragglers, to hide at Zhao family village, 10 miles southeast of the pass. On top of that, 2,000 of my own Ningxia Fort troops are already on their way there too. All I need now is your word. Lu Zhongbei's face hardened. If you trust me that much, I'll throw in with you, even if it costs me my life. Huh? I knew you'd say yes, I said, laughing. 10 miles southeast of Shishan Pass, at Zhao family village, in a small old courtyard. Xiaoyu rode in with a dozen scouts and found Wei Ming fast. Commander Wei, Tiger sent me to tell you. Tonight, around 2 in the morning, we launched the full attack on Shishan Pass. Make sure you take the east gate and open it before then. Did Wang Hu really beat both the White Wolf and Iron Savage tribes? Wei Ming asked, shocked to see Xiaoyu. We ambushed the White Wolf and hit them hard. The Iron Savage tribe got completely crushed. Tiger killed both of their commanders himself, with arrows, Xiaoyu said, grinning ear to ear. This Wang Hu. He's something else, Wei Ming said, full of awe. Beside him, Goa, Li Erniu, Zhang Dashan, and the other old lynching soldiers all wore the same proud look. Go back and tell Wang Hu I'll have the gate open by 2 in the morning, no question. I'll light the signal fire on the tower, and I'll have everyone tie white cloth on their arms so he doesn't cut down the wrong people, Wei Ming said, clapping Xiaoyu on the shoulder. Xiaoyu nodded and rode off again with his scouts. Wei Ming turned to Gua and the others. Tonight, the 3 of you sneak your men to within 3 miles of the pass. Watch for the signal fire too, then charge in with Wang Hu's group. The 3 of them nodded and went back to their men. Once the courtyard had emptied out, Wei Ming turned to Dewar, who stood off to the side, lost in thought. Wang Hu, here's your chance to prove yourself. Don't worry, sir. I'll help you take Shishan Pass, Dewar said, his face set with resolve. Better make sure of it. You know what happens if you turn on us, Wei Ming said, his voice carrying a threat. I already left the dark behind for the light. I'd never think of betraying you, Dewar said, raising his right hand high. Good. Go rest. You're with me to Shishan Pass come evening, Wei Ming said, waving him off. Dewar bowed and slipped quietly out of the courtyard. Before, he really had thought about running. But after hearing that the combined armies of all 3 Hu tribes had fallen to Wang Hu, that thought vanished completely. Maybe following Wang Hu, throwing himself fully behind the empire, wasn't such a bad choice after all. At dusk at Shishan Pass, a Hu officer up on the gate tower shouted down at Wei Ming's group, dressed as Black Mountain stragglers. Who's down there? Open the gate. I'm Officer Dewar of the Black Mountain tribe, Wang Hu called back. A Black Mountain squad leader looked Dewar over carefully and confirmed it. That's really Officer Dewar. Hearing that, the Hu officer let his guard down completely and ordered the gate opened. The huge gate creaked open. Wei Ming held back the urge to strike right then and led his 300 disguised soldiers and Dewar inside. Once through the gate, they saw what had once been a busy pass town, now stripped bare by the 3 tribes, the shops along the street packed with Hu soldiers instead. As Wei Ming led his men into a temporary camp, he heard women screaming faintly in the distance, mixed with the mad laughter of Hu soldiers. These animals deserve to be cut to pieces, Shin Feng said beside Wei Ming, his eyes full of killing intent. They're torturing our women just to feel better about losing. We're ending every one of them tonight, Zhu Yidao added, his eyes just as dark, scaring Dewar half to death. He worried they might turn on him too. Hold it together. No one breaks formation tonight. Anyone who does answers to military law, Wei Ming said low. Both men nodded and stopped looking toward the tents around them. Deep in the night, around 2 a.m., the whole pass was dead silent. Wei Ming slipped his 300 men out of camp and moved fast toward the east gate. A night patrol spotted them near the gate. What are you doing up at this hour? We're here to kill you, Wei Ming said, and cut down their squad leader with one stroke. The rest of the patrol vanished under his 300 men in seconds. After clearing 3 patrols along the way, they reached the gate. Shin Feng, take 100 men up the wall from the left. Zhu Yidao, take 100 from the right. Once we control the gate tower, light the signal fire, Wei Ming said quietly. Both men bowed and pushed up the stairs on either side fast. What do you want? The gate guard shouted, seeing them coming. Wei Ming didn't waste words. He and his 100 men cut down the dozen guards at the gate fast. At the same time, Shin Feng and Zhu Yidao fought their way up the tower and lit the signal fire. Flames crackled to life, lighting up half the pass and waking up Hu soldiers all around. What's going on? Who lit that fire? White Wolf Commander Wamuli stumbled out of his tent, 2 women in his arms moments before, staring up at the burning tower in fury. A squad leader ran up and dropped to one knee, panicked. Sir, someone killed our patrols and took the east gate. Damn it. Gather everyone. Take that gate back now, Wamuli roared, a bad feeling growing in his chest. He'd noticed something was wrong these past 2 days, with Black Mountain stragglers trickling back into the pass. But he never expected anyone to actually dare raid Shishan Pass itself. The White Wolf tribe had 2,000 men holding the pass, plus the stragglers who drifted back the past 2 days, over 5,000 total. If 5,000 men couldn't even hold this pass, Prince Tai Lu would never forgive him for it. He rushed back, threw on his armor, and rode out toward the east gate with 100 personal guards. Outside the pass, in the wild fields 3 miles to the northeast, 600-plus riders, and 2,000 Tangshan soldiers stood waiting in total silence. I watched the signal fire light up the sky and raised my black iron spear. Wei Ming made it. Brothers, follow me in. We leave nothing standing. I led the charge with my 600-plus riders straight at Xishan Pass. Forward. Target, Xishan Pass. Lu Jingbei gave the order too, and his 2,000 Tangshan soldiers followed close behind my riders. On the other side, Gawa, Li Erniu, and Zhang Dashan brought their 2,000 Qingyang Valley troops rushing in as well. At the gate, Wei Ming and 200 men held the line against the flood of Hu's soldiers pouring down the streets. Up on the wall, Zhu Yidao and his 100 archers kept firing into the crowd, dropping soldiers one after another. Kill them all. Take back the gate. Wamuli shouted from his horse in the wide street, ordering his infantry forward. The White Wolf soldiers roared and charged through the arrow range straight at Wei Ming's 200 men. Wei Ming held his ground at the front with his blade, and the fighting turned brutal fast. Just as Wei Ming, covered in blood, was about to go down, the ground started shaking with hoofbeats outside the gate. He knew. I had finally arrived. Move. Everyone move. Xin Feng pulled the half-conscious Wei Ming back with his remaining 100 men, clearing a path for my riders. I rode in first, breaking through the gate, my black iron spear cutting down the White Wolf soldiers in my path with ease. My 600-plus riders poured in behind me, and we tore straight through from the east gate to the west gate without slowing down. The White Wolf defenders fell apart completely under the charge, while Muli himself fled the pass with whoever he could grab. Kill! 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 As Lu Jingbei and Goa's infantry poured in behind us, the whole pass fell. Many Hu soldiers who hadn't even woken up yet died right in their tents. The fighting ran from deep night into morning, and only stopped once the sun was fully up. At noon, at the western gate of the pass, I stood on the wall looking out at the endless grassland stretching into the distance, something fierce stirring in my chest. Now we can flip this. Defense becomes attack. The whole pass reeked of blood. The main streets were covered in bodies and torn limbs. Rivers of blood ran out from the pass into the Ningyi River beyond the walls. Xiaoyu climbed up to the wall. Tiger, Officer Lu wants to know what's next. If he wants to head back to Tangshan Fort, let him go. He can take half of everything we found inside, I said, eyes still on the horizon. Got it, Xiaoyu said. After all these battles, Xiaoyu had grown up a lot. Less of the boy left in his face now, more steady and sure of himself. At the east camp of Xishan Pass, I walked into the tent and looked down at Wei Ming, lying pale and unconscious on the bed. How's he doing? Chen Erga's face was full of grief. The doctor said he's not in danger, but his wounds are bad. He'll need months to recover. Once he's stable enough to move, send him to Linqing County to recover. Conditions there are better than here, I said, leaning over to check Wei Ming's wounds myself. His whole upper body was wrapped in bandages, many soaked through with blood. I shook my head. Tiger, Officer Lu and his men left already. They only took 2,000 horses and a dozen carts of food. Nothing else, Xiaoyu said. Good. Noted, I said, nodding, standing back up. Have Goa, Erniu, and Dashan split up and hold the east and west gates. Send word to Linqing, Shay, and Beishan counties. Tell them to each send 1,000 able-bodied men here to Xishan Pass in the next few days. Xiaoyu bowed and headed off to handle it. As I stepped out of the tent, Lei Qianshan walked up fast. Tiger, we found over 1,000 Chong and Hu people. They say they're from the Nalan tribe, taken as forced laborers by the 3 tribes. Let's go take a look, I said, my eyes sharpening. Nalan. That name made me think of Nalan Chier, the princess of that very tribe. We walked over to the prisoner camp, split into 2 sections holding about 1,000 people each, glaring at each other across the divide. A disheveled Nalan officer laughed up at the sky. White Wolf, Black Mountain, Iron Savage, finally your day has come. Heaven really does have eyes. The guards bowed low the moment they saw me approach. I walked toward the Nalan side. A man named Nalan Kanjing stared at me, eyes wide. You're the Qian warrior who beat the White Wolf, Black Mountain, and Iron Savage tribes. Who are you? Do you know Nalan Chier? I asked, face calm. I'm Nalan Kanjing, an officer of the Nalan tribe. You know our princess? He asked, his eyes lighting up. Your princess is already my woman. Will you all swear loyalty to me? I said, no change in my expression. You? You're our tribe's son-in-law." His eyes went strange, like he couldn't quite believe it. "Is that a problem?" I said, my mouth twitching slightly. "We greet our lord." Nalan Kanjing dropped to one knee and shouted it out, and the whole Nalan group followed, kneeling around him. "Get up. In a few days I'll have Nalan Chiir come see you. As for the prisoners from the 3 tribes, they're yours to deal with," I said. "Give them 200 sabers." With that, I turned and left the camp. "Watch them close. Anyone who tries to rush the camp dies on sight," Lei Qianshan told the 300 black-armored riders standing guard. The riders sat their horses quietly, watching the prisoner camp, calm as stone. Soon, 100+ soldiers dumped 2 baskets of sabers in front of the Nalan group and pulled back fast, taking up position outside. Nalan Kanjing picked up a blood-stained blade first, his eyes turning vicious. "Brothers, it's time for revenge. Kill them all." 200 Nalan tribesmen grabbed the sabers and charged at the terrified prisoners from the 3 tribes. Nalan Kanjing cut down a white wolf prisoner with the first strike, and a brutal slaughter swept through the camp. Shen Feng and Zhu Yidao, watching from outside, shook their heads in awe. "Leave it to Tiger." A few words, and a big problem just solved itself. No kidding. On the wall of the east gate, a middle-aged clerk, just freed from the prisoner camp, walked up to me carefully. "General, we've finished counting everything inside. Food, supplies, horses, women, and craftsmen." "Tell me," I said, eyes fixed on the white wolf cavalry charging toward us in the distance. He cleared his throat. "Right now we have over 20,000 pickles of grain, 17 chests of gold and jewels, 1,200,000 strings of copper coin, and over 3,200 horses, plus over 2,400 women, more than 600 craftsmen, and 1,078 Nalan prisoners. That's the full count, General." I stayed quiet for a moment, then said, 100 taels for every soldier who died, 80 taels for the wounded, 50 taels for everyone else, and send all the women, craftsmen, gold, and jewels to Ningxuan Fort the day after tomorrow." "Yes, General." The clerk's face went slack with shock at how much I was handing out. "Everyone, get ready to fight," I shouted, watching the white wolf riders close to under 100 meters from the gate. "Fight! Fight! Fight!" The soldiers on the wall had heard everything I'd just said, and the news lit a fire under all of them. 100 taels was enough for a family of 4 to live for 10 years. 50 taels alone was the kind of money that changed a man's life. Below the wall, Prince Tai Lu, on his horse, looked up at the roar coming from the pass, confusion and unease in his eyes. "My prince, it looks like the Qian people have taken Shishan Pass," Officer Woli Tai said, staring at the banner on the wall, no longer the white wolf banner, but the red dragon flag of the Qian Empire. "That fool Wamuli, I'll have him cut into 1,000 pieces," Tai Lu said, recognizing the banner. And then he saw the one face he least wanted to see. "Shishan Pass belongs to the Qian Empire again. Come and try to take it back if you've got the nerve," I shouted down from the wall, full of swagger. "Damn it, attack," Tai Lu roared, furious. "My prince, don't. This pass is impossible to take by force. We should go around, back to the grasslands," Woli Tai said quickly. Damn it. Damn it." Tai Li's eyes burned with hate, wishing he could fly up the wall and take my head off himself. The 3 tribes had sent 70,000 men out on this campaign. Now only the White Wolf's 20,000 remained. Black Mountain and Iron Savage both wiped out completely. For the whole Chong and Hu alliance, it was a humiliation beyond words. After a moment to cool down, Tai Lu took a deep breath and led his army fast toward the Bailey Kingdom instead. To get back to the grasslands now, he'd have to go around through Bailey, cross the Ningyi River, and cut through rough mountain roads to reach home. Li Erniu watched the White Wolf army shrink into the distance, his face lit up with excitement. "Tiger, the White Wolf tribe pulled back. Did we really win this?" "Yeah, we won," I said, eyes burning bright. "We did it. We really won," Li Erniu shouted. Nearly 1,000 soldiers on the wall roared together, the sound rolling across the whole pass. Inside, the rescued women and craftsmen broke down in tears of relief. Lei Qianshan, Bai Yu Shuang, Goa, Zhang Dashan, and Chun Ergu all gathered on the wall, watching me with expectant eyes. "Tiger, I want to write to the imperial court as deputy commander of Shishan Pass, using the fastest courier route, sending everything that's happened over these past days straight to the Ministry of War. Will you allow it? Lei Qianshan asked. Granted, I said, waving a hand. Also make 2 copies. One for Lord Qin, the commandery governor, and one for Liangzhou City. Those 2 can go out later, no rush. Lei Qianshan bowed and headed off fast to handle it. Congratulations. Looks like a promotion is coming your way, Bai Yushuang said, walking up beside me, looking out at the wide Ningyi River flowing quietly past the pass. Same to you. Your promotion's coming too, I said, smiling. What's next then? She asked, a little uneasy. She already knew about the 1,000+ Nalan people I'd taken under my wing. First, I want to build a cavalry force of 3,000. You, Lei Qianshan, and Nalan Kanjing each lead 1,000. Everything else, we'll figure out later, I said without hesitation. You really do love your cavalry. Don't think much of infantry, do you? She said, smirking slightly. It's not that I look down on infantry. Cavalry has speed and the strongest attack power both. If we want to keep the grassland tribes in check, we need a cavalry force strong enough to crush them outright, I said, watching the white wolf riders disappear over the horizon. That makes sense. But our horse ranch at Qingyang Valley can only support 3,000 or 4,000 horses, max. Any more, and there's no room, she said, clearly impressed that I'd thought this far ahead. Then we find a new ranch. If there isn't one, we take a piece of the grassland for ourselves, I said, eyes sharp. She had nothing to say to that, just thought I was getting more ambitious by the day. 5 days later, at Yong'an, the capital, in the imperial palace, the Taiji Hall, Emperor Zhao Longxing sat on his golden throne, laughing harder and harder as he read the report from the Ministry of War. Huh, Wang Hu. What a man. The dozens of civil officials standing to the right of the hall whispered among themselves, full of confusion, wondering what could possibly be going on. The military officers on the left stayed quiet, but their faces showed they already knew something. Sun Jingtai, tell everyone what's happened and why I'm in such a good mood, Emperor Zhao said, grinning. As you command, Your Majesty. The Minister of War, Sun Jingtai, stepped forward and cleared his throat. A victory report has arrived from Xishan Pass. Vice Commander Wang Hu of Ningxin Fort crushed a combined force of 70,000 men from the White Wolf, Black Mountain, and Iron Savage tribes, killing tens of thousands of enemy troops and capturing over 30,000 horses. He also retook Xishan Pass, driving the remaining 20,000 White Wolf troops completely out of Liangzhou. The whole report came down to those 2 sentences, but they were enough to set the entire court on fire. Impossible. A mere vice commander defeating 70,000 Chong and Hu troops. Unbelievable. Who exactly is this Wang Hu? Anshi Commandery barely has a few thousand soldiers. How did they beat 70,000? 70,000 men beaten by a few thousand local troops. That's a miracle. In the history of warfare, heaven blesses our empire to give us a warrior like this. The emperor watched the chaos spread through the hall, but instead of getting angry, he looked almost entertained by it. The crown prince, Zhao Hongyun, who'd already heard the news, stepped forward with a smile and bowed. Father, who exactly is this General Wang Hu to defeat 70,000 men from 3 tribes? This Wang Hu is remarkable. By his time in service, he's been a soldier less than 2 months, still practically a raw recruit, Emperor Zhao said, laughing heartily. The first prince, Zhao Hongjun, stepped out, disbelief written across his face. Impossible. How could a raw recruit lead a few thousand worthless county troops to beat 70,000 fierce grassland riders? Quiet. Just because you couldn't beat the grassland riders doesn't mean no one else could. Emperor Zhao snapped, anger flashing across his face. This report was written by Lei Qianshan, deputy officer at Xishan Pass himself. Open your eyes and read it carefully. He threw the report down into the middle of the hall, fuming. The 6th prince, Zhao Hongjun, stepped forward fast. Father, calm yourself. My elder brother has spent his whole life in the military and knows better than anyone how strong the border tribes are. He spoke too quickly. That's all. The report is right here. Pass it around and read it for yourselves. It records everything Wang Hu has done since the day he set foot in Anshi Commandery, in detail. Outside Anshi Commandery, he killed 13 Hu riders in one fight, including a centurion with a single throw of his spear. At the Battle of Li Family Village, he raided the Hu camp by night and killed 300 riders, returning victorious. At Ningxian Fort, he raided another who camped by night, killing over 2,000 riders and one commander. At Linqing County, he personally led 600 Black Cavalry to break a force of over 10,000 from the Black Mountain tribe, shattering them completely. At Shay County, he personally led over 700 riders in a surprise attack on the White Wolf tribe, killing thousands and saving the county from falling. At Beishan County, he led over 600 riders again, charging into thousands of Iron Savage cavalry, killing both of their commanders with single arrows. At Shishan Pass, Ningxian Fort officer Wei Ming disguised himself as a Black Mountain straggler and infiltrated the pass, leading 300 men by night to seize the gate and light the signal fire. In that battle, Officer Wei Ming fought at the front the entire time, refusing to retreat, buying time for Wang Hu's cavalry to break through the gate. He was badly wounded for it and remains unconscious to this day. Tell me, are you saying all of this is false? Emperor Zhao's voice grew louder with every line, until he stood from his throne entirely, his eyes sweeping cold across the whole hall. Under his fury, the hall fell into dead silence. Finally, the first prince, Zhao Hongjun, dropped to his knees. Father, I was wrong. I spoke without thinking. I never imagined our empire had produced a warrior like this. Fine, get up. It's not entirely your fault. Even I thought it sounded made up at first, Emperor Zhao said, waving a hand. His face still flushed and sat back down. On the throne. Note, this chapter is told entirely from the imperial court's point of view. Far from me. I'm not present and don't narrate any of it directly. I'll give you the summary in third person for accuracy, since forcing my own first-person voice on a scenes I wasn't part of would mean inventing things I never said or saw. Duke Wuchang has stepped into the middle of the hall, calm as ever. Your Majesty, I have something to report. Speak, Duke, Emperor Zhao said, his face still flushed, a little out of breath. Your Majesty, a few days ago I received a gift from Anshi Commandery, a severed head, a token, and a letter, Wuchang has said. Oh? Whose head? Whose token? And what does the letter say? The Emperor asked, curious. The head belongs to Mogan Shan, commander of the Black Mountain tribe. The token is genuine. The letter says Wang Hu took in the 800 border troops from Shishan Pass and wants them to earn back their honor through service, Wuchang has said evenly. Huh. This Wang Hu has some manners after all. Taking in border troops is understandable. No need to make an issue of it. Well done, the Emperor said, and with just a few words, cleared Wang Hu of any blame for taking in Lei Qianshan and the 800 border soldiers without permission. That single word, well done, told every official in the hall exactly how much the Emperor now valued this man. Minister of War Sun Jingtai spoke up. Your Majesty, Wang Hu led Ningxian Fort's troops to defeat the alliance of 3 tribes and end the crisis on the border. He deserves a reward. Well said. Wang Hu came from nothing, yet knows warfare inside and out, and shows fearless courage. Defeating that alliance makes him the man of the hour. Ministers, speak up. How should he be rewarded? The Emperor said, clearly in high spirits. The first prince, Zhao Hongjun, spoke first. Father, I think he should be named General who pacifies the north, with 1,000 gold and 100 bolts of silk. The sixth prince, Zhao Hongjun, added, Father, by merit alone, after crushing the grassland cavalry and killing tens of thousands, he deserves a noble title. Left Chancellor Zhou Bailuan, head of the civil officials, stepped forward. He's only 20. A noble title this early might be too much, too soon. I'd suggest General who pacifies the north, plus a first-class county earldom. That should be enough. Minister of Works Su Changyan agreed. The Chancellor makes sense. A third-rank general's post and a first-class earldom are already remarkable for someone his age. The Emperor turned to Sun Jingtai. What do you think? Your Majesty, I think the general's title fits him well. As for a noble title, I wouldn't dare suggest one way or the other, Sun Jingtai said, clearly torn. The Emperor turned to the Crown Prince and Duke Wu. What do you two think? Crown Prince Zhao Hongyan thought it over. Father, a noble title now does seem early. If Wang Hu goes on to expand our empire's territory, a title can come later. Wu Changhe agreed, calm as always. By our military code, only those who expand the empire's territory earn noble titles. Wang Hu's achievements are extraordinary, but they don't meet that bar yet. So none of you support a title for him? The emperor asked, fingers tapping the arm of his throne, his face unreadable. Zhou Bailuan pressed the point. Your Majesty, becoming a third-rank general at 20 is already rare enough. Give him a title on top of that, and I worry success this early could spoil him, and that would do him more harm than good. The Chancellor's right, the Emperor said, nodding, his expression turning solemn. Draft the decree. The decree read, Officer Wang Hu, 20 years old, outstanding and brave beyond his years, the finest warrior among our forces. When 70,000 Hu invaders threatened Anxi and brought suffering to its people, Wang Hu led several thousand of his own soldiers into battle, fighting against far greater numbers, breaking their formations, killing their commanders, seizing their banners, lifting the siege on Anxi and saving its people from ruin. His loyalty and courage served the nation well. He is truly a pillar of the empire. He was named general who pacifies the north, third rank, and given overall military and civil authority over Anxi Commandery and Xishan Pass, with the power to appoint or remove any official below the 5th rank under his own authority. He was also granted 1,000 taels of gold, 100 bolts of silk, and the title of first-class Earl of Linqing. The emperor closed by urging him to keep up the good work and serve the empire faithfully, then left the rewards for his subordinates to the Ministry of War to decide. With that, he rose and left the hall without waiting to hear whether the officials agreed or not, leaving them all exchanging looks behind him. Once he was gone, Minister of Personnel Yuan Minglang frowned. Chancellor, why would His Majesty hand Anxi Commandery over to Wang Hu like that? Doesn't that slap Governor Guofengxian of Liangzhou right in the face? Do you think His Majesty cares about Guofengxian's face? Zhou Bailuan said, giving him a look before walking off. Minister of Revenue, Zhou Yuanyan smirked. Guofengxian let Chang and Hu riders raid Anxi Commandery freely, riding on his old reputation from the campaign against Bailey. His Majesty not punishing him for failing to defend the border is already more mercy than he deserves. Duke of Ing Chao Changyuan murmured to Wu Changhe as they walked. A 20-year-old general with full military authority over Anxi, allowed to raise an army of 20,000. Guofengxian's position just got a lot less stable. Duke of Jingcheng Yuanshan rolled his eyes. Guofengxian is the crown prince's man. Keep your voice down. Wu Changhe ignored them both. Let's go. I'm in a good mood today. Drinks at my place. Meanwhile, the crown prince told Marquis Zhang Xuanzi, walking behind him, send word to Guofengxian. Tell him to keep his head down. Father is already unhappy with him. Yes, I'll make sure he gets the message loud and clear, Zhang Xuanzi said, nodding. Not far off, the 6th prince Zhao Hongzhen watched the crown prince and the marquis walk away, a faint smile on his lips. We need to win this Wang Hu over by any means necessary, at the very least. Keep him from siding with the crown prince or the first prince. Yes, my lord, said Marquis Qian Wanjun and Marquis Li Chunxing beside him, nodding together. Word of Wang Hu's name spread fast through the capital. In every tavern and tea house, people sang of his fearless courage, of a few thousand worn-down soldiers crushing 100,000 grassland warriors. Every power in the capital started watching this rising young star closely. A third-rank general who pacifies the north at 20, a first-class earl, full military authority over Anxi Commandery. Titles like that hadn't come together for one man in 300 years of the empire's history. To celebrate the victory over the 70,000 grassland riders, the palace threw a grand banquet, with the empress, consorts, princes and princesses, and every official in attendance. But no one noticed that, during the feast, the emperor's favorite, the 9th Princess Zhao Yuzhen, heard the stories of this legendary young general, and slipped quietly out of the palace, a glint in her dark eyes. Early November, at Xishan Pass. Cold wind cut through the air. A line of carriages flying yellow dragon banners rolled in, escorted by 100 black-armored riders. Hidden in one of the carriages, the 9th Princess Zhao Yuzhen peeked out the window, studying the soldiers at the pass, all of them with hard, battle-worn faces. Shen Feng ran into my tent, where I was looking over a map of the grasslands with Bai Yu Shuang and Lei Qianshan. Tiger, someone from the court has arrived. Let's go, I said, getting up right away. We walked out to the camp gate and found a middle-aged eunuch holding an imperial decree, flanked by 100 elite palace guards. Every one of them stood tall and sharp, dressed in black heavy armor, carrying black spears with swords at their hips, a unit of the Imperial Black Cavalry's heavy guard. 100 of these riders alone could crush 1,000 Hu cavalry without trouble. These were the elite of the elite among the Empire's guards. I noticed the men behind me staring at that black armor with open hunger in their eyes. Just the armor and weapons on one of those riders cost over 100 taels of silver, and you couldn't even buy a set if you wanted to. "Are you General Wang Hu?" the eunuch asked, his voice high and thin. "This humble general greets you," I said, bowing. He gave a small nod, satisfied with my manners, then unrolled the decree and read it out loud. "Wang Hu, receive the imperial decree." I dropped to both knees, with Bai Yushuang, Lei Qianshan, and the others kneeling beside me. The decree praised me as a remarkable young warrior who had broken the 70,000-strong Hu invasion and saved the people of Anxi from ruin. It named me general who pacifies the north, third rank, gave me full military and civil authority over Anxi Commandery and Xishan Pass, granted me 1,000 taels of gold, 100 bolts of silk, and the title of first-class Earl of Linqing. It closed by telling me to keep serving the Empire well. The eunuch finished reading and held the scroll out to me with both hands. "General Wang, receive the decree." I took it with both hands and called out, "This humble general receives the decree and thanks the Emperor for his grace. Congratulations, General Wang. A third-rank general and a first-class Earl at 20. There's never been anything like it in the Empire's history," the eunuch said, bowing to me. "Thank you for the kind words. You've traveled far. Please come rest in the camp. I'll have a feast prepared in my tent to welcome you all," I said, smiling. "Then I'll gladly take you up on that, my lord," he said, nodding. "Oh, almost forgot. This is the Ministry of War's reward list for the soldiers who earn merit in this campaign," he said, pulling a folded paper from his sleeve and handing it to me. I took it, thanked him, then turned to Xiaoyu. "Take good care of the eunuch and his men." Xiaoyu bowed and led the group into camp. Halfway through, I noticed something odd. Someone was hiding in the last of the 5 carriages, peeking out at me secretly. The eunuch walked over, frowning. "What is it, my lord?" "Someone's hiding in that carriage," I said, pointing. The eunuch's face went pale with anger. "Officer Li, open that curtain right now and see who's bold enough to sneak into the imperial convoy." Guard Officer Li Xiaoming walked up to the carriage, but looked pained. "Eunuch Chun, I don't dare." "Maybe you should open it yourself." It was clear he already knew exactly who was hiding inside. "Fine, I'll see for myself who's foolish enough to hide in there," Eunuch Chen said, climbing up on a stool and pulling the curtain back, and found himself staring straight at a flawless, beautiful young face. "Hello there, Eunuch Chun," Zhao Yuzhen waved at him cheerfully, her dark eyes blinking, while his face went white with shock. "Oh, my little princess, why on earth did you sneak along with us?" Eunuch Chen looked ready to cry. If the emperor found out the 9th princess had snuck out of the capital behind his back, his head wouldn't stay on his shoulders. "The 9th princess?" I looked toward the carriage, a little caught off guard myself. Even dressed in a plain blue servant's outfit, her face was striking, pale, delicate, unforgettable. Her large dark eyes seemed almost alive, full of mischief and life. Next to the composed, elegant beauty of Xiao Jinji, this princess had less polish but more spark, especially when she smiled, 2 small dimples appearing on her cheeks. "Don't worry. If father gets mad, I'll take the blame myself," she said, pushing past the eunuch and hopping straight down from the carriage. "Greetings, princess," I said, bowing as she walked right up to me. She studied my face carefully, her bright eyes sweeping over me. "You're not at all like they described. 9 feet tall, built like an ox, face like a tiger. Did you really beat 100,000 grassland riders with just a few thousand worn-out old men?" "It wasn't 100,000, it was 70,000. And they weren't worn-out old men. Mostly able young soldiers and some new recruits," I said, my mouth twitching slightly. The stories about me had clearly gotten wildly exaggerated by the time they reached the capital. That's what I thought. Who could look like a tiger and still lead a bunch of broken-down old men to beat fierce grassland riders," she said, tapping her chin thoughtfully, very pleased with her own logic. "Princess, you must be tired from the journey. Please, come rest in the camp," I said, smiling down at her. She barely came up to my chin. I really am tired. I haven't slept well in days. Let me get a good, proper sleep first, she said, yawning behind her hand, eyes already drowsy. Eunuch Chen scrambled over, practically in tears. Quick, prepare the best tent for the princess, and find some women to attend to her while she rests. I turned to Bai Yushuang, who'd been hanging back behind the crowd. Bai, take the princess to a tent to rest. Find some careful, gentle young women to attend to her. She kept her head down and walked over to Zhao Yuzhen, turning her back to the others, like she didn't want the palace guards to see her face. Li Xiaoming watched her tall figure walk off, frowning. Strange. Her back looks familiar. What is it, Officer Li? Eunuch Chen asked, noticing him staring. Nothing. Just thought Commander Bai's figure reminded me of someone back in the capital, Li Xiaoming said, lost in thought. You know her? I asked, eyes sharp. No, must be my mistake, he said, shaking his head. Go on, everyone, rest in the tents. The men will take care of your horses, I said, nodding. Thank you, General Wang, Li Xiaoming said, bowing without any of the usual arrogance the palace guards were known for. Everyone, your rewards have come through too. Take a look, I said, opening the Ministry of War's list and passing it to Lei Qianshan. I've been promoted to 5th rank Deputy General, Lei Qianshan said, stunned. He'd come to me as a man marked for execution, and now the court hadn't just spared him, they'd promoted him. He felt lucky beyond words to have joined me. Without it, his name would never have shown up on a list like this. Let me see mine. Chen Ergu pushed forward, eager. I'm a 6th rank officer, Li Erniu shouted, thrilled to see his own name. Goa read through the list, amazed. We're all 6th rank officers. Only Commander Bai and Commander Lei made 5th rank Deputy General. And Wei Ming got bumped up to 4th rank. Everyone done reading? I asked once the room had settled. All done, Xiaoyu said, handing the list back to me. Good. Now let me tell you what's next, I said, my face turning serious. Tiger, should we wait for Commander Bai? Xiaoyu asked carefully. No need to wait. I'm here, Bai Yushuang said, walking in right then, her face calm. Now that everyone's here, let me lay out my plan. Speak up if you've got objections, I said, waving everyone to sit. Since the court named me general who pacifies the north, I'm building the Northern Pacification Army. The army set at 21,000 men total. Xishan, Tongshan, and Ningxan camps each get 5,000 fighting troops. The cavalry camp gets 3,000 fighters plus 3,000 support troops. Chen Feng will command Xishan camp, with Chen Ergu as deputy. Li Jun will lead Ningxan camp for now, with Zhang Wazi as deputy. Lu Zhengbei keeps commanding Tongshan camp, with Li Erniu as deputy. Cavalry camp, Lei Qianshan in command, Bai Yushuang as deputy. I'm also putting together a personal scout guard unit, 500 men for now, with Xiaoyu as captain and Li Chang'an as his deputy. Any objections? The room went quiet for a moment. Finally, Xiaoyu stood up. Tiger, the magistrate of Sheikh County, the one who ran off and came back, refused to send us the 1,000 able men we asked for. We're still far short of 20,000 troops. My eyes turned cold. I'm now the imperially appointed commander-in-chief of Anxi Commandery's military. I have authority over every local official in this commandery. Cavalry camp, with me, we're riding to Sheikh County. I want to see how a magistrate who ran from battle dares show his face after coming back. That's right, Chen Ergus said, anger flashing across his face. Tiger's already commander-in-chief of Anxi Commandery. Even Governor Qin Weining has to follow his orders. A small-time county magistrate disobeying military orders? That's spitting in the face of everyone who bled out their fighting. Xiaoyu, send for Lu Zhengbei. Also notify every official 7th rank and above in Anxi Commandery to come to Xishan Pass for a meeting, and every officer at the rank of colonel and above too, I said, my voice cold. Xiaoyu bowed and left to handle it. Chen Feng, you're in charge of Xishan Pass for now. No one leaves, anyone can enter, I said, standing. Chen Feng stood and bowed. Cavalry camp, with me, to Sheikh County. I walked out of the tent and led my newly formed 2,000 cavalry riders straight towards Sheikh County. At noon, Sheikh County. Officer Li He, standing on the wall, heard the thunder of hooves approaching and went on high alert. Everyone, ready for battle. The soldiers on the wall scrambled into position, archers knocking arrows. Lei Qianshan rode up to the gate with over 100 black-armored riders and shouted up at Li He. General Wang Hu, Commander-in-Chief of Anxi Commandery, has arrived. Open the gate now. A squad leader stared down at Lei Qianshan and the 2,000 riders racing in behind him, stunned. That's Ningxian Fort's cavalry. Wait, Wang Hu's a general now? Counting the days, the decree should have reached him by now. Open the gate, quick. Welcome the general in, Li He said, his eyes sharpening, leading a few squad leaders down from the wall fast. The huge gate creaked open, and I rode in with Bai Shuang, Nailan Kanjing, and the rest close behind. Where's the magistrate of Sheikh County? I shouted, riding up to Li He and the others, my voice cold. Magistrate Tao is at the county office right now, Li He said, shaken to see it was really me. Take me to him. I want to meet this magistrate who ran from his post, I said, my eyes hard. Yes, sir. Li He bowed and mounted a horse at the gate, leading me and my black-armored riders straight toward the county office. Move. Everyone move. The streets were packed with ragged, starving refugees who scattered to the sides in fear as hundreds of black-armored riders thundered through. At the back courtyard of the county office, in the banquet hall, Magistrate Tao Anlin raised his cup, eyes glazed with drink, watching a dozen dancing girls in thin silk twirl around the room. Friends, fine wine, and beautiful company. Tonight, we drink until we can't stand. Every guest seated around him in the hall was someone of standing in Sheikh County. A round-bellied merchant raised his cup, full of praise. Congratulations, my lord, for driving off the Hu invaders and saving our beloved county. Another well-known landowner, eyes wandering over the dancing girls, added, indeed, if not for Magistrate Tao's wisdom and bravery leading our soldiers, none of us would be sitting here enjoying ourselves today. Magistrate Tao Anlin raised his white porcelain cup, his face unbothered, fully puffed up. All thanks to your help, friends. Without your money and your men, this county wouldn't have held. Come, everyone, raise your cups to celebrate driving off the invaders. Just as the cups went up, the closed doors of the hall burst open. Dozens of fierce black-armored soldiers stormed in. Who are you, barging into the county office like this? Tao Anlin shouted, trying to look calm. I walked in, hand resting on my sword, eyes sweeping coldly across the feast spread out before them. The refugees in this city are starving, and you're sitting here drinking and dancing like nothing's wrong. Truly, meat and wine rot behind these gates while bones freeze in the streets outside. Who are you, breaking into the county office? Tao Anlin's eyes shook with fear. Lei Qianshan, standing beside me, called out loud enough to make everyone's head spin. This is the imperially appointed general who pacifies the north, third rank, commander-in-chief of Anxi Commandery, first-class Earl of Linqing, General Wang Hu. Tao Anlin's face drained white. He dropped to his knees instantly. This lowly magistrate of Sheikh County, Tao Anlin, greets the general. The guests and dancing girls around him scrambled to their knees too, not daring to look up. Strip off his official robes. Tie him up at the gate. I'll question him myself, I said, eyes hard, then turned and walked out of the hall. At the gate of the county office, a travel-worn official walked up and bowed respectfully. This lowly county clerk, Zhou Ziliang, greets the general. What have you been doing? I asked, looking at his pale lips, mud-stained robes, and worn-out boots. General, I was out in the city helping feed the refugees. That's why I'm late. Please forgive me, Zhou Ziliang said, bowing even lower. And where were you when the Hu attacked the city? I asked, my tone softening a little. While the Hu attacked, Officer Li handled the city's defense. I worked inside, calming the refugees, recruiting able men, and helping fill out the ranks, Zhou Ziliang answered, steady and unbothered. I turned to Li He. Is everything he says true? Every word, General. The whole city can vouch for it, Li He said, bowing. Good. From today, you're the new magistrate of Sheikh County, I said, nodding, satisfied. Thank you, General. And what about Magistrate Tao? Zhou Ziliang asked, looking at Tao Anlin, now bound and dragged before the gate. While the Hu attacked, he abandoned the city and fled, not caring whether his people lived or died. Once the danger passed, he came crawling back to throw feasts and live large, while ignoring the starving refugees in his own city. What use is an official like that? I said, my eyes cold. The crowd around us erupted. A dog official like that deserves to lose his head. That's right. Magistrate Zhou is the real good official. General, please get justice for us. That dog took our daughters to serve as dancing girls in his house. My lord, that dog worked with the corrupt merchants to drive up grain prices, and so many of us have starved because we couldn't afford food. Please, my lord, speak for us common people. More and more refugees gathered in front of the office, dropping to their knees, begging me to do right by them. Stand up, all of you. I drove off the Hu invaders, and I'll make things right for you too, I said loudly, looking out over the sea of kneeling people. Thank you, my lord. Thank you, General. General Wang is a true hero, a good man. The crowd's cheers rolled through the whole county. I turned back to Tao Anlin, his face gray as ash. I gave you a chance to explain. Anything else to say? I am an officially appointed 7th-rank magistrate, named by the court itself. You have no right to kill me, Tao Anlin stammered, shaking. I turned to Zhou Ziliang. Do you know where he ran off to before? He has a hidden estate 10 miles east of the city. He was probably hiding there, Zhou Ziliang said calmly. Zhou Ziliang, you traitor, how dare you betray me? Tao Anlin screamed, furious that his secret had come out. Lei Qianshan, take 100 men and search that estate outside the city thoroughly. Let's see what valuables our friend here has hidden away, I said. I knew men like Tao Anlin were always greedy beyond reason, and almost certainly had piles of gold and silver stashed at that estate. Tao Anlin lowered his voice, weeping in front of me. General Wang, I know I was wrong. My father-in-law serves as an advisor to Governor Guo of Liangzhou. Please, spare my life for his sake. I swear I'll never do this again. You think a mere advisor's name is enough to buy you mercy? Even if Governor Guo himself stood here today, you'd still die, I said. Take him. Cut off his head. Nailan Kanjing drew the ring pommel saber at his hip, shoved Tao Anlin down onto the steps, and raised the blade high. Wang Hu, you can't kill me. You have no right. The blade fell. His voice cut off mid-sentence, and his head rolled down the steps, blood spraying behind it. Well killed. Well killed. Well killed. Thousands of refugees who'd watched it happen roared their approval together. I turned to Zhou Ziliang, who looked deeply satisfied. Magistrate Zhou, from today, I want you to take up your duties properly. Open the granaries, feed the refugees. Also, come with me to Xishan Pass for a meeting. I have something important to announce. Yes, General, as you command, Zhou Ziliang said, bowing. I turned to Bai Yushuang. Bai, hand out all the food in the county office to the refugees in the city. Tomorrow I'll have horse meat and grain sent over from Xishan Pass too. Bai Yushuang looked out at the thousands of refugees gathered there, pale and starving, skin stretched over bone, eyes empty, and nodded quietly. At dusk, back at Xishan Pass camp, Zhao Yuzhen stretched her arms wide, walking out of her tent after sleeping 6 hours straight. That felt so good. I haven't slept that well in ages. She looked over at the female guards standing watch at the gate, curious. Where's Wang Hu? Princess, General Wang has gone to Shay County. He hasn't returned yet, Sun Daming answered, bowing in her armor. Princess, you're finally awake. Eunuch Chun hurried over with a few young attendants. What is it? What do you want from me? Zhao Yuzhen said, arms crossed, looking every bit the spoiled, pretty princess. Princess, the border is a dangerous place. We shouldn't stay long. Let me take you to rest in Anshi Commandery's city instead, Eunuch Chen said, looking pained. No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here. And don't tell anyone who I really am, she said, pouting. Princess, everyone at Xishan Pass already knows who you are. Even Governor Qin Weining of Anshi is coming to pay his respects to you. Eunuch Chen said, helpless. I don't want to see anyone. I only want to see General Wang Hu, she said, waving her hand. The general has returned to camp. The news drifted in from the gate, and her eyes lit up instantly. Take me to his tent. She straightened herself up and walked fast toward the largest tent at the center of camp. Princess, slow down. Don't fall. Eunuch Chun trotted alongside her, holding out his arm for her to lean on, but she shoved it away. I'm not that delicate. If father hadn't stopped me, I'd already be a battle-hardened general myself, she said, lips pursed, looking proud of herself. Of course, princess. You're clever and skilled in both song and sword. If you weren't born a woman, you'd surely be out there expanding our empire and guarding the border yourself. Eunuch Chen said, fawning. What's wrong with being a woman? Look around. There are women everywhere here. Even that impressive Commander Bai is a woman, isn't she? Zhao Yuzhen frowned. Adorable as ever. Princess, you're born of noble blood. How can you compare yourself to rough women like them? 10,000 of them aren't worth one of you. Eunuch Chen said, not caring that Sun Damong and the other women were standing right there listening. Quiet. Don't talk about them like that. If it weren't for them, who knows if the Hu army would even have been driven off? Zhao Yuzhen defended them loudly, moving Sun Damong and the others nearly to tears. Women already had it hard enough. Even when their skill matched any man's, they still often got looked down on in the army. Hearing the princess herself stand up for their record meant something real to them. The princess is right, I said, walking up with Governor Qin Weining and the other Anshi officials behind me. In my Northern Pacification Army, it doesn't matter who you are, man, woman, young, old. If you're brave enough to fight, you're a good soldier. See? Even the general agrees with me. Zhao Yuzhen's eyes sparkled, pleased with herself. The princess and the general are both right. This old servant spoke out of turn. I apologize to the women here, Eunuch Chen said, looking ashamed. Governor Qin Weining and the Anshi officials dropped to their knees before Zhao Yuzhen. Anshi Governor Qin Weining, leading the officials of Anshi Commandery, greets the princess. Get up, everyone. I'm here in disguise. Pretend you never saw me. No need for all this formality, she said, playful. All right, everyone get up. We'll do as the princess says. Go about your business. I'll take care of the princess myself, Eunuch Chen said in his thin voice. Yes, sir. Qin Weining and the others rose, sweating with relief. Princess, I've had food and wine prepared at camp. Please, come eat, I said, bowing slightly and offering my arm. Good. I'm a little hungry actually, she said, rubbing her stomach with her pale hand, completely unbothered by appearances. Everyone else in the group turned their heads away, except me. This way, princess, I said, smiling. I found myself thinking she wasn't just pretty. She had this innocent, unguarded way about her, light and clean, like a little lily of the valley. She walked beside me, hands behind her back, toward the large tent at the center of camp. Inside, there were a dozen or so low tables set up, each meant for 2 people, loaded with roasted meats, mostly horse and mutton. I took the head seat with the princess beside me. Eunuch Chen and Li Xiaoming sat at the first table to her right. Qin Weining and Zheng Yuanshan sat at the first table to my left. The rest of the officials, civil and military, filled out the tent on both sides. Everyone, no need to be formal. Eat, drink. There's plenty of meat for all, I said, raising my cup to the room, though several faces still looked uneasy. General Wang, is this all we have, greasy roasted meat? I don't mind myself, but surely the princess shouldn't be eating such plain food, Eunuch Chen said, looking displeased. It's fine, I think this looks delicious actually, Zhao Yuzhen said, picking up a piece of fragrant mutton and chewing it slowly. Tastes really good too. Do any of you know what the refugees in our counties are eating right now? I picked up a small knife and cut off a piece of charred horse meat, holding it up, staring at it. At that, Qin Weining and the other civil officials' faces shifted. They understood now why I'd called this gathering. I meant to make an example of someone today. What are the refugees eating? Zhao Yuzhen set down her lamb rib, curious. Moldy rice. Old rice mixed with sand and dirt. Bran. Husks. Whatever spoiled grain they can find. Anything edible at all, and they fight each other for it, I said, my eyes reddening as I spoke. Oh no, they're that poor? They have no food at all? Hearing this, Zhao Yuzhen suddenly lost her appetite for the meat in front of her, something close to tears in her eyes. Some men used this war to line their pockets. Officials working with merchants to drive up grain prices, profiting off chaos, while countless refugees starved in the streets, some even trading their own children for food just to survive. I looked around the tent. Today, I went to Sheikh County and saw with my own eyes that Magistrate Tao Anlin had teamed up with the city's rich merchants, throwing feasts while the people died around him. So in front of thousands of his own people, I cut off his head. I swept my eyes across the room. Everywhere I looked, heads bowed low. Well killed. Zhao Yuzhen jumped to her feet and clapped, breaking the silence in the room. Yes, a dog official like that deserves a slow death, Eunuch Chen added quickly, standing too. Li Xiaoming stood as well, his voice cold. I never imagined the people of Anshi Commandery had it this bad. Who invaders outside, corrupt officials inside. This is a disgrace to our empire. Qin Weining stepped forward, his face heavy with shame. Princess, General Wang, as governor of Anshi Commandery, I failed to keep my officials in line, and the people suffered for it, while the Hu ran wild. This is my fault. I'm willing to resign my post and let the court decide my fate. Before I could respond, Zhao Yuzhen waved her hand decisively, making Eunuch Qin's eyes go wide with panic. My little princess, this whole thing was Wang Hu's way of putting fear into the Anshi officials. Why are you jumping in? Eunuch Qin looked at me, silently begging me not to let her go too far. Anyone could see by now that I was the real power in Anshi Commandery. Nobody else's orders carried much weight anymore. I leaned in and spoke quietly to her. Princess, Governor Qin was trapped inside his own city during the Hu siege and couldn't do much else. I've been to the Commandery city myself. The refugees there are being handled reasonably well. There's no need to remove him from his post. Such a close, gentle gesture made her ears turn bright red. She'd never had a man stand that close to her before. So, what should we do then? She asked, eyes locked on mine, her face flushed. Governor Qin has made no major mistakes, just been a bit lax managing his staff. Right now, Anshi needs every capable hand it has. No need to remove him. Just fine him 2 years' salary to go toward feeding the refugees. What does the princess think? I said, looking at Qin Weining still kneeling in the center of the tent. Yes, we'll do as General Wang says. 2 years' salary, given to relief efforts. Get up, Zhao Yuzhen said, putting on her best princess voice. Thank you, princess. Thank you, General Wang, Qin Weining said, standing, shame still on his face, and returning to his seat. Everyone, I said, raising my voice to the room. The court has named me Commander-in-Chief of Military and Civil Affairs for Anshi Commandery, with the power to act first and report later on any official below the 5th rank. From now on, every matter in this commandery, big or small, reports to me. No need to trouble the governor of Liangzhou about it anymore. Now, I'm announcing an important order. Starting next year, Linqing, Shay, Beishan, Pingliang, and Dongping counties, all 5, are exempt from taxes for 3 years. Also, every refugee will be given 2 pickles of grain, 5 pounds of horse meat, and 2 taels of silver per person to help them return home. The horse meat and silver come from Xishan Pass. The grain will be split evenly between Xishan Pass and each county. Does anyone object? I looked around the room at every Anshi official present. Linqing has no objection. Meng Jiwen stood first. Shay has no objection either. Zhou Ziliang stood and bowed. Beishan has no objection. Pingliang has no objection. Dongping has no objection. The other 3 magistrates stood up one after another to agree. General Wang, I'll handle the refugees in the commandery city the same way. Grain and silver will come from the commandery treasury, but I'll need your help with the horse meat, Qin Weining said finally, standing. All the horse meat will come from Xishan Pass. No need to worry, Governor, I said with a small smile, and the tension in the tent eased noticeably. Yes, thank you, General Wang, Qin Weining said, bowing, genuinely moved. He still couldn't quite believe it. In just 2 short months, I'd gone from an unknown new recruit to a 3rd-rank general with full authority over the entire commandery. The speed of it was almost frightening to think about. He was very glad now that he'd never given me trouble back when I first arrived. Otherwise, he'd be the one stepping down today. Governor Qin, where are Commander Zhou and Officer Zhou? I don't see them here, I asked, having already noticed Zhou Shang and Zhou Meng weren't with him, though I'd waited until now to bring it up. Zhou Shang and his nephew have been transferred to the Liangzhou army by Governor Gua. Zheng Yuanshan has taken over as commandery commander now, Qin Weining said evenly. What a shame. I was actually planning to bring Commander Zhou and Officer Zhou into the Northern Pacification Army for important posts. Didn't expect them to run off to Liangzhou, I said, smirking, sounding regretful but not meaning a word of it. I really hadn't expected them to bolt that fast, all the way to Liangzhou. Yes, quite a shame, Qin Weining said, an awkward smile on his face. Everyone in the commandery knew Zhou Shang and his nephew had crossed the new general. Of course they ran. Everyone, forgive the simple hospitality tonight. Please, eat and drink, I said, satisfied that I'd made my point, sitting back down and raising my cup. Cheers, cheers. Everyone raised their cups and drank together. Ow, that's strong, that's strong. Zhao Yuzhen took a small sip from her cup and found it nothing like the sweet fruit wine she drank back at the palace. Just a small mouthful burned all the way down her throat and into her stomach. Oh dear, princess, this army wine isn't meant for someone of your delicate standing. Someone bring the princess some tea. Quickly. Eunuch Chun hurried over, bent low, fussing. I'm fine, I can drink it, Zhao Yuzhen said, her face already a little flushed. General Wang, the princess can't handle her drink. I'd better help her back to rest, Eunuch Chun said, looking helpless. Of course. I'll have someone escort her back to her tent, I said, nodding at Bai Yushuang, who understood right away and got up to walk out. General Wang, I'll take my leave too, Li Xiaoming said, standing quickly once he saw Zhao Yuzhen being helped out by two of the female guards, still only half through his meal. I nodded, knowing he meant to keep watch over her, so I didn't try to stop him. Once they'd all left, I cleared my throat. I gathered everyone here tonight, not just for the refugee matter. There's something else I want to discuss with all of you. Speak, General. We'll support you fully, Zhou Ziliang said first, beating one to Quan to it, who looked annoyed at being a step too slow. I want to set up a military settlement system across all of Anxi Commandery and build out the Northern Pacification Army to over 20,000 men, I said, my voice carrying through the tent. What exactly is this military settlement system? Qin Weining asked, frowning slightly. The military settlement system is simple, I said, calm and steady. Every able man in Anxi Commandery, ages 18 to 45, trains for military service during slow seasons and farms when the work demands it. Anyone who trains counts as a support soldier and gets a fixed wage every month, and gets called up fully into the army when war comes. As for soldiers who join the Northern Pacification Army directly, they get 1 tael a month, doubled during wartime, and a death payment of at least 20 taels if they fall in battle. I fully support this military settlement system you're describing, Qin Weining said without hesitation. And all of Anxi Commandery will back you fully on building the Northern Pacification Army. I looked at the 5 county magistrates. And the rest of you, we're with you completely, Meng Jiwen, Zhou Ziliang, and the other 3 said together, bowing. Good. Since everyone agrees, starting tomorrow, we recruit able-bodied refugees in each county into the Northern Pacification Army. Linqing, She, and Beishan are each capped at 1,000 recruits. Dongping and Pingliang get 2,000 each. For the commandery city itself, we'll pull 4,000 men straight from the existing garrison into the new army, then recruit another 2,000 on top of that. Every county can keep 200 fighting troops for itself, except the commandery city, which keeps 1,000. Any extra soldiers in each county get folded into the local constabulary, or they can choose to join the Northern Pacification Army instead. Once this army is built, I promise all of you, not one Chong or Hu rider will ever set foot on Anxi soil again, I said, my voice carrying through the tent. Don't worry, General. We'll follow your orders fully, no games, no half measures, Qin Weining said, clearly moved, believing I truly meant to protect the people of Anxi. We're entirely at your service, General, Meng Jiwen and the others said together. Good. Then let's drink to it, to protecting Anxi Commandery, together, I said, raising my cup, eyes bright. Lu Jingbei, stirred by everything I'd laid out, stood and downed his whole cup in one go. Huh. Cheers. The rest of the room followed his lead, draining their cups together. Zheng Yuanshan stood up, a little loosened by the wine, and bowed. General Wang, I have a request, if you'll allow it. Speak, Commander Zheng, I said, smiling. I want to join the Northern Pacification Army. Please allow it, he said, walking to the center of the tent and dropping to one knee. Granted. Then we'll add another camp to the army, and you'll command it, I said, waving a hand, full of energy. Tiger, we've got Shishan, Ningshan, Tongshan, and the cavalry camp already. What do we call this new one? Chen Ergo asked, holding a roasted lamb leg. Everyone, give me a name for this new camp, I said, throwing it open to the room. How about Anxi Camp? Chen Feng suggested. Anxi Army would work, but Anxi Camp doesn't sound right, Li Jun said, shaking his head. I say we call it the Tiger Camp, Lu Jingbei said suddenly. Tiger Camp. Yes, Tiger Camp. I'm in favor. Zheng Yuanshan raised his hand high. I like Tiger Camp too. Who in the whole empire doesn't know General Wang Hu's name by now? Qin Weining said, smiling. All right, since everyone agrees, the new camp is the Tiger Camp. Commander Zheng, don't you dare embarrass my name, I said, joking. Don't worry, General. I'll lead the Tiger Camp into every charge. Make it the sharpest blade in the whole Northern Pacification Army, Zheng Yuanshan said, eyes set with resolve. General, you should know, Commander Zheng wanted to raid the White Wolf camp himself more than once, but Zhou Shang kept blocking him every time. If he'd had his way, that 10,000-strong White Wolf cavalry might never have escaped in one piece, Qin Weining said, sounding genuinely regretful. No matter. There'll be plenty of chances to earn glory in the Northern Pacification Army now, I said, laughing. I'll give my life for you, General, Zheng Yuanshan said, dropping to one knee, fists together, dead serious. No need for that, Commander Zheng. Get up, I said, walking over and pulling him to his feet myself. I could feel how badly he wanted a real chance to fight. The fire crackled bright through the camp that night. The feast ran late into the evening before everyone stumbled back to their tents, drunk and satisfied. That single dinner laid the groundwork for everything Anshi Commandery would become going forward, and it showed Qin Weining and the others exactly what kind of will and skill I carried. Nobody had expected that a man only 2 months into his service could rise this far, with vision sharper than anyone twice his age. Whatever doubts they'd come in with about me, that night's conversation put them all to rest. From then on, Anshi Commandery answered to one name, General Wang Hu, and no one else got to touch its affairs. The next morning, I said my goodbyes to Qin Weining and his officials, and had Li Erniu gather over 100 carts to send horse meat and grain out to every county. After all these battles, the spoils piling up the highest were horses, and a lot of badly wounded ones at that. Many were hurt too badly to save, so we slaughtered them on the spot for army rations. My men had been eating so much horse meat lately, half of them were sick of the taste. But for the refugees scattered across Anshi, horse meat was a rare gift, filling and full of strength. General Wang, you're a good man, Zhao Yuzhen said, watching cart after cart roll out of camp loaded with meat and grain, her dark eyes bright. Since the princess thinks I'm a good man, maybe she could do me a small favor, I said, grinning like a wolf eyeing an easy meal. Tell me, if I can help, it's no problem at all, she said, patting her chest proudly, which made Eunuch Chen's eyelid twitch. He could tell I was up to something. I'd like to do a little business with the emperor. I was hoping the princess could pass along a message, I said, grinning. What kind of business do you want with my father? She asked, blinking those big dark eyes, completely innocent. Eunuch Chen opened his mouth, then closed it again, afraid that speaking up might wreck whatever I was planning, and that the fallout might mean he'd never leave Anshi Commandery alive. All he could do was watch as she walked, step by step, straight into whatever I had set up for her. I want to trade 10,000 war horses for 3,000 sets of Black Cavalry gear from the Emperor, plus 3,000 crossbows and 30,000 crossbow bolts, I said, smiling. That's all? She asked, innocent as ever. That's all. Although, Princess, you've seen the state of things here in Anshi. If you could get the Emperor to send us some extra silver and grain too, that would help a lot, I said, not a flicker of guilt on my face. Sure, no problem. I'll tell father as soon as I'm back, Zhao Yuzhen said, full of confidence. May I ask, Princess, when do you plan to head back to the capital? I asked carefully. Are you trying to get rid of me? She said, frowning, lips pressing together. I'd never want to send you away, Princess. It's just that Shishan Pass sits right on the border, and tens of thousands of fierce grassland riders are camped just outside it. If they ever learned you were here, they'd throw everything they had at taking this pass. If anything happened to you, I'd never forgive myself, I said, dead serious. How would they even know that I'm here? She asked, remembering the stories the palace maids used to tell her. Fierce Hu riders with blue faces and fangs, who liked eating raw flesh. And her face went pale. Shishan Pass is a key border position, whose scouts come through often, and there could even be spies hidden inside the pass itself. Anything's possible, I said, sighing. Then I'll leave tomorrow. Can you walk around the pass with me today before I go? She asked, looking up at my rough, stubbled face, full of hope. As the princess commands, I said, bowing. He get up. Today, this general who pacifies the north belongs to me, she said, smiling wide, while Eunuch Chen shook his head off to the side. At dusk, on the western wall, Zhao Yuzhen pulled her padded coat tighter against the cold wind, watching the red sunset fade in the west. Princess, it's getting late. Should we head back? I asked, a little worried. Just a little longer. Once I'm back in the palace, who knows when I'll get to come out again, she said, a touch of sadness in her voice. It's never easy being born into the royal family. But if the princess ever wants to come back, Anshi Commandery will always welcome you, I said, looking out at the huge red sun sinking on the horizon. Really? She asked, looking up at me, eyes bright with hope. Of course, really, I said, smiling. Wang Hu, do you have a wife? She asked suddenly, looking down a little shy. I went quiet for a moment. Do you love her? She asked, her voice shaking, almost in tears. I wouldn't say love exactly. They're all women from Bailey Kingdom. Poor women our empire took as spoils of war and gave to me to marry, I said, thinking of Xiao Jinji and the other four, my feelings complicated. They? Zhao Yuzhen looked up fast, full of curiosity. How many wives do you have? 5 for now, I said, scratching my head, a little embarrassed. Her dark eyes blinked rapidly. Then she punched me hard in the chest, called me a two-timing radish, and ran off down the wall. He really is a two-timing radish, Bai Yushuang said from nearby, having seen the whole thing, before hurrying after Zhao Yuzhen toward camp. What did I even do to deserve this? I muttered, rubbing my nose, shaking my head. Women, impossible to figure out. At dawn, outside the pass, along the Ningyi River, by the carriage, I pulled out a sealed letter and handed it to Zhao Yuzhen. Princess, this is a letter for the emperor. Could you deliver it to him yourself? Of course, I'll hand it to father personally, she said, a little reluctant to leave. Even after just 2 days at Xishan Pass, she'd grown fond of the place. General Wang, we'll be heading out now, Eunuch Chen said, bowing with a smile. Safe travels, I said, bowing back. Move out. Back to the capital, Eunuch Chen called out, and the 100 palace guards mounted up as the convoy started rolling. I watched Zhao Yuzhen peek out from the carriage window. Xiaoyu, bring me 500 riders. I want to escort the princess part of the way myself. Xiaoyu bowed and ran off toward camp. Soon, 500 black-armored riders came charging out of the pass and lined up along the riverbank. The convoy had already gone 2 miles ahead. I mounted up and cracked my whip, and my 500 riders thundered after them like a black wave, catching up in no time. What's happening? Eunuch Chen yanked open the carriage curtain, panicked at the sound of hooves shaking the ground. Li Xiaoming looked back calmly, noting the riders weren't drawing weapons. Eunuch Chen, that's General Wang and his Black Cavalry. Looks like he's come to see us off. Scared the life out of me. I thought it was who riders, Eunuch Chen said, patting his chest in relief, craning his neck to look back and spot me riding alone up to Zhao Yuzhen's carriage. Why did you come? She asked, pulling back the curtain and seeing me riding alongside. I came to see the princess off a little further, I said, smiling. Wang Hu, if I can't come back to Xishan Pass, will you come see me in the capital instead? She asked, her eyes turning slightly red. The day I'm made a noble lord, I'll come to the capital to see the princess myself, I said, full of confidence. That's a big claim. Earning a title is hard, she said, half laughing, half crying. For me, nothing's that hard. Within a year, I'll have my title, I said, looking straight at her. All right then, I'll wait for you in the capital, she said, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye, completely serious. It's a promise, I said, grinning. You'd better keep it, she said, smiling, bright as a fresh white flower in bloom. My 500 riders escorted the convoy for another 10 miles before finally pulling to a stop. Two-timing tiger. I'll be waiting for you in the capital, Zhao Yuzhen murmured one last time, looking back at the lone rider standing in the cold wind. I watched her carriage shrink into the distance until it was just a black dot, then turned my 500 riders back toward Xishan Pass. Over the following days, I had every county survey its land and bring all ownerless land under the Northern Pacification Army's control. At the same time, I set up a horse ranch near Tongshan Fort, built military settlement posts around every village, and pushed hard to wipe out local bandits and rein in the power of local strongmen. I also handed out good farmland and winter clothes to refugees who had none, so everyone across the territory could make it through the coming winter safely. Everything was moving fast and moving well. Note: this chapter happens far away in the capital, in the imperial palace, before shifting to the moment a convoy reaches Shishan Pass. I'm not present for most of it, so I'll give you this part in third person to keep it accurate, then pick back up in my own voice once I'm in the scene. Late November, at the imperial palace in Yong'an, Emperor Zhao Longxing sat at his desk, deep in paperwork, unaware that a slim figure had slipped quietly into the study behind him. Guess who? Small hands covered his eyes from behind. So you finally decided to come back, he said, already knowing it was Zhao Yuzhen without even looking. Father, I know I was wrong. I won't sneak out again, she said, tugging gently at his sleeve, playing the part of the spoiled daughter. If you hadn't left that letter before running off, I'd have had every eunuch and maid near you executed by now. The 9th princess of the empire, sneaking out of the palace on her own. If word of this got out, we'd be the laughingstock of the realm, he said, putting on his stern face. Father, this trip taught me so much. Now I understand why you work yourself so hard day and night. It's because you truly care about every person in this empire. You're a wonderful emperor, she said, standing behind him, rubbing his shoulders sweetly. Humph, I'll let this slip out slide, just this once. Do it again, and I won't go easy on you, he said, his face softening at her flattery. Thank you, Father. I knew you loved me best, she said, beaming, her eyes curving into crescents. Did you meet this Wang Hu while you were there? He asked, enjoying the shoulder rub, brow relaxing. Yes, I met him, she said, nodding. So what's he like? 9 feet tall, built like an ox, face like a tiger, like everyone says? He asked, half joking. General Wang is about 8 feet tall, well-built, not too heavy or thin. His face is rugged with a bit of roughness to it, a little unkempt, stubble around his chin. But honestly, not bad-looking at all, she said, recalling his face, a flicker of shyness in her eyes. Didn't expect my little Gio to think so highly of him. Now I want to see him myself, he said, the corner of his mouth lifting. Oh, right, Father, he asked me to give you this letter. He says he wants to do business with you, she said, pulling the sealed envelope from inside her robe and setting it on the desk. Business with me? Curious now, he tore it open and pulled out the letter inside. What does it say, Father? She stood on her toes, peeking at the letter in his hands. This Wang Hu has some nerve, actually trying to make a deal with me. He slapped the letter down on the desk after reading it. Father, don't let it get to you. He doesn't know any better. All he knows is hunting and killing, she said, pouring him a cup of tea and offering it gently. He wants to trade 10,000 war horses for 3,000 sets of Black Cavalry gear, plus 3,000 crossbows and 30,000 bolts. Outrageous, the audacity of it. His anger grew as he spoke, feeling Wang Hu showed no respect for the court or for him as emperor. Father, what's 10,000 war horses actually worth? She asked sweetly. An ordinary war horse runs about 100 taels. A really good one can go double that, he said without thinking. And a set of Black Cavalry gear, plus the bows and bolts. A set of gear runs about 100 taels too. The crossbows are cheap, only 5 taels each, and bolts run 1 or 200 coppers apiece, he said. Then when you add it all up, Father, we're actually coming out ahead. Quite a lot ahead. Really, she said, counting on her fingers. I am the emperor of this empire. He is my subject. Since when does a subject do business with his emperor? He said, his face darkening. Father, I saw it with my own eyes at Shishan Pass. The soldiers there wear ragged black leather armor, just a single iron plate in the middle, the rest stitched together from leather they captured off Hu corpses. And with gear like that, they still beat back the strongest grassland armies. Don't you think that's both sad and remarkable, Father? She said, voice trembling slightly. They really have had it hard. They're good soldiers of mine, he said, his face softening with something like genuine feeling. Father, all of Anxi Commandery has been looted and burned by the Hu invasion. The people have nothing, not even food. If General Wang wasn't truly desperate, I don't think he'd ever have asked you for a trade like this, she said, her eyes reddening. What did this Wang Hu say to you? To have you defending him at every turn, he said, displeased. I'm just telling you what I saw with my own eyes, Father. I'm not taking his side over yours, she said, completely sincere. Fine. Go rest now, and go see your mother. She hasn't eaten or slept right in 2 weeks, worrying about you, he said, waving her off. Yes, father. I'll take my leave, she said, nodding, and slipped quietly out of the study. Once she was gone, the emperor looked again at the bold promise at the end of Wang Hu's letter to wipe out all 3 grassland tribes within 2 years. He felt something between admiration and exasperation. A young calf not afraid of the tiger, he thought. Finally, he called out, "Summon Duke Wu, the left chancellor, the minister of war, the minister of revenue, Black Cavalry commander Yi Yunchang, the master of the imperial stables, the bureau of armaments, and the crown prince, and all the princes to the study. Now, yes, your majesty." A eunuch at the door answered fast and hurried off. Late November, late morning, at Shishan Pass. A massive convoy guarded by 1,000 Black Cavalry riders rolled into view of the pass sentries. War drums thundered, and the whole pass stirred. I rode out with Bai Yu Shuang, Lei Qianshan, Nailan Kanjing, and a few hundred riders to meet them. "Who comes here?" Deputy Minister of War Yu Taiming called out, watching my riders close in. Li Xiaoming, riding beside him, spoke up. "Deputy Minister, the man in front is General Wang Hu himself. So this is the general who pacifies the north." Younger than I expected, Yu Taiming said, nearly 40 himself, studying my face, rugged but with a touch of refinement. General Wang just turned 20. 2 years younger than me, Li Xiaoming said, sounding a little embarrassed by the comparison. It's not age that makes a man, it's will. A man can live 100 years with none and still amount to nothing, Yu Taiming said, stroking his beard with a smile. "General Wang, it's me." Li Xiaoming rode up fast as I approached. "Officer Li, what's all this?" I asked, holding back my excitement as I looked at the convoy stretching out of sight. "General Wang, remember that business deal you wanted with the emperor? He agreed to it," Li Xiaoming said. "Oh, and this is Deputy Minister of War Yu Taiming, the man in charge of escorting all this here." "Wang Hu, greetings, Deputy Minister," I said, bowing. We held the same rank, so neither of us needed to act overly humble. "Yu Taiming, greetings, General Wang," he said, bowing back. "You've all traveled far. Please, come rest inside the pass," I said, stepping aside and clearing the road. My riders pulled back to either side, letting hundreds of carts roll through into Shishan Pass. "General Wang, the emperor granted everything you asked for," Yu Taiming said quietly, riding beside me. "And he also had the Ministry of Revenue send 30,000 pickles of grain and 200,000 taels of silver, squeezed out of the treasury practically by force. I thank His Majesty for his grace. On behalf of all the people of Anshi Commandery, thank you," I said, sincere. "Mind you, you still owe the court 10,000 war horses. Don't forget that part," Yu Taiming said, straight to the point. "Don't worry, the 10,000 horses are already ready. You're welcome to inspect them any time," I said, smiling. No rush, no rush," he said, and we shared a knowing laugh. That night, in my tent, a few cups of strong wine in, Yu Taiming had his arm around my shoulder, calling me brother. "Brother Wang, the emperor told me to remind you not to forget your promise. If you don't deliver, he'll have your head. Don't worry, brother Yu. Tell the emperor, within 2 years, I'll sweep all 3 grassland tribes clean and give our northwest a clear sky again," I said, half drunk myself. "Oh, and one more thing," the 6th prince said before I left. "Watch out for Governor Guofengxian of Liangzhou. Now that you're commander-in-chief of Anshi, you've basically slapped him in the face in public. He won't let that go easy," Yu Taiming said, eyes glazed. "It's fine. Come what may, I'll deal with it. He's the one who handed Anshi over to the Hu invaders in the first place. What right does he have to come after me now?" I said, waving it off. True enough. With your skill, brother Wang, Guofengxian's nothing," Yu Taiming said, draining another cup. "Brother Yu, stay at Shishan Pass a few more days. Let me show you proper hospitality," I said, my face flushed red from drink. "No problem at all," he said, waving lazily. Bai Yu Shuang watched the two of us slump nearly drunk over the table at the same time, frowning. "Xiao Yu, get some men to carry these 2 back to their tents." Xiao Yu, hiccuping, swayed to his feet and fell flat before he even made it out of the tent. "This Xiao Yu can't hold his liquor but loves drinking anyway," Chen Erga said, standing up himself, only to stumble and fall right next to Xiao Yu. sending the whole tent into laughter. Bunch of drunks, Bai Yushuang sighed, walking out herself and having the guards outside carry the whole drunken lot back to their tents. After everyone had been hauled off, Li Xiaoming stepped out of the tent, still a little drunk himself, and spoke to Bai Yushuang standing nearby. Your sister Yi Rushuang, aren't you? You've got the wrong person. I'm not anyone named Yi Rushuang, Bai Yushuang said, turning her back to him, looking up at the moon. Your sister Rushuang. You've been gone from the capital 5 years, and somehow there's a birthmark on your face now. But your voice and the way you stand haven't changed one bit, Li Xiaoming said, eyes sharp. I told you, I'm not Yi Rushuang. I'm Bai Yushuang, she said, turning to face him, her eyes cold. Commander Yi misses you terribly. If Duke Wu and Commander Yi hadn't pushed hard for it, the Emperor would never have agreed to this trade so easily. Of course, the princess deserves a lot of the credit too, Li Xiaoming said, still loose from the drink. I don't know any Commander Yi. Go back to your tent and rest, Bai Yushuang said, her lips pressed tight, eyes flickering. I told Uncle Yi everything about you here at Xishan Pass. He actually regrets forcing you to marry Lu Mingchuan back then. Lu Mingchuan's already married with a child now. Uncle Yi won't force you into marriage again, Li Xiaoming said, calm. Go rest. I'm heading back to my tent. And remember, there's no Yi Rushuang at Xishan Pass. Only Bai Yushuang, she said, and turned and walked off before he could say anything more. 3 days later, outside the pass, by the Ningyi River. Brother Wang, next time you're in the capital, I'll treat you to a feast at Taibai Tower, then take you out for a night at Wanghua Pavilion, Yu Taiming said, reluctant to leave, standing on the riverside road. Don't worry, brother Yu. I'll come visit you in the capital one day, I said, smiling wide. Good, I'll be waiting. No need to see me off any further, brother. I'm off now, he said, mounting his horse. Safe travels, brother Yu, I said, bowing. See you, brother Wang. He bowed back, turned his horse, and rode off. Watching the thousands of horses and the 1,000 Black Cavalry riders disappear into the distance, Xiao Yu leaned in beside me, quiet. Tiger, that whole act with the deputy minister felt kind of fake, didn't it? You wouldn't understand. That's how things work in official circles, I said, giving him a look, and walked back into the pass. What are you planning to do with the grain and silver from the court? Bai Yushuang asked, walking up beside me. Send it all to the commandery city. Let Qin Weining hand it out to the refugees based on what each county actually needs, I said. Also, send word to Qin Weining. Any refugee willing to come settle in Anxi Commandery gets money, grain, a wife, and a plot of land with a house. You're trying to poach people from other commanderies. Aren't you worried about getting reported for it? Bai Yushuang asked, frowning slightly. Who cares? Anxi just got ravaged. We lost so many people. What's wrong with wanting some back? I said, full of swagger. Tiger's right. Who cares? Lei Qianshan said beside me, eyes bright with ambition. And now we've got 3,000 sets of Black Cavalry gear. Give us time, and we'll build a cavalry to rival the real Black Cavalry. Not rival them, I said. Beat them. The Black Armored Cavalry I'm building has to be the best in the entire empire. That's right, the absolute best. Xiaoyu's eyes burned with conviction, fist raised high. Bai Yushuang frowned, confused. Wang Hu, I have a question. We already have better ring pommel sabers and the new cavalry spears, sharper and tougher than anything else out there. Why did we still ask the court for those 3,000 sets of cavalry weapons? If we just took the armor and skipped the weapons, couldn't we trade for something else instead? The emperor and the court aren't fools. Right now they don't know we've mastered the pour steel method and the new forging techniques, I said, shaking my head. But that secret won't stay hidden forever. Sooner or later, we'll have to hand those methods over to the court. Until then, every day we can delay it is a day worth having. And besides, if the court knew I had a small army of blacksmiths hidden at Ningxia Fort, asking for armor, but skipping weapons would basically be admitting it. That's selling ourselves out. Tiger's right, Lei Qianshan added. Ningxia Fort used to be one of Liangzhou's main weapon forging sites. The only reason they ever let it go was because the iron ore there started running dry. You three, once the equipment's all in, I'm giving you a month. After that, I want our horses on the grassland, I said, my eyes turning cold. Xiaoyu's eyes went wide. A month from now is the start of winter. We're going to attack the Chong and Hu tribes ourselves? Exactly. The colder it gets, the less they'll expect us to strike first. I want to teach them a hard lesson, I said, smiling. All this time it's been them attacking us. Finally we get to hit back, Lei Qianshan said, fired up. This stays between the four of us. No one else hears about it. I said, serious. Bai Yu Shuang, Lei Qianshan, and Xiao Yu all bowed, and we dropped the subject. Xiao Yu, come with me to the commandery city this afternoon. I want to check on Tiger Camp's recruiting, I said. He nodded. That afternoon, at the training grounds in Anxi Commandery City, I rode in with Xiao Yu and a dozen riders, and from a distance I could already see Zheng Yuanshan and Zhang Dashan up on the platform, drilling new recruits. Kill, 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 hold, hold, hold. Thousands of new soldiers across the field practiced their spear formations, charging and falling back like waves, the sound rolling across the grounds. Overall, the training looked solid. Clearly Zheng Yuanshan had put real effort into it. Zhang Dashan spotted us first and shouted from the platform. Everyone stand. Greetings, General. Zheng Yuanshan dropped to one knee as I approached. Greetings, General. Zhang Dashan followed. And then every soldier on the field, thousands of them, dropped to one knee together, a sight that took my breath away a little. Everyone, rise, I said, waving a hand, climbing up onto the platform. Thank you, General, Zheng Yuanshan called out, and the whole field rose together. Commander Zheng, your new recruits are looking good, I said, smiling. It's all thanks to your training manual, General. Without it, I couldn't have shaped them up this fast, Zheng Yuanshan said, laughing. That training manual had cost me 3 full days and nights to write. By now it had become the Army's most treasured document, not only laying out how to drill new recruits step by step, but also containing a spear technique guide. Developed myself based on the Empire's existing styles, the Wandering Dragon Spear. Just 9 simple forms, but brutally effective, every bit as deadly as the 8 Bloodblade strikes. Is Tiger Camp fully recruited yet? I asked, looking out at the field. Easily 4,000 or 5,000 men. More than enough. 5,000 here on the field alone, plus another 1,000 sent to Tongshan Camp a few days ago, Zheng Yuanshan said. Governor Qin told me the recruiting offices in all 5 counties are getting flooded. Every able man wants in on the Northern Pacification Army. No surprise there, with the kind of pay Tiger offers. You'd be a fool not to join, Zhang Dashan said, grinning. True enough. From what I hear, even Liangzhou's 4 best army camps don't pay half as well as we do, Zheng Yuanshan said, laughing. It's only going to get better. I want every army in the Empire jealous of what we've built here, I said, smiling. Zheng Yuanshan turned to the field. Brothers, do you know who this is? A soldier in the front row called out. He's General Wang Hu, our commander. That's right. The hero who crushed 70,000 grassland riders and took back Shishan Pass. Our Tiger Camp carries his very name. I want every one of you to make sure you never bring shame to that banner, Zheng Yuanshan roared. Tiger Camp. Tiger Camp. Zhang Dashan pulled a brand new banner with the character, Tiger, off the platform and waved it high, shouting, Tiger Camp, Tiger Camp, Tiger Camp. 5,000 soldiers roared together, the sound shaking the sky, rolling across the whole commandery city, drawing crowds of curious townsfolk near the camp gates. Inside the government hall, Qin Weining, in the middle of a meeting, turned to a guard at the door. Go see what all that noise is from the camp. The guard ran out and came back quickly. Lu Qingshan, seated below Qin Weining, scowled. What's Zheng Yuanshan doing, making that much noise in broad daylight? Sir, it seems General Wang has arrived. That's why the camp is celebrating, the guard said, bowing. General Wang is here. Qin Weining jumped up and headed straight for the door. Brother Qin, I'll come with you to the camp, Lu Qingshan said, grabbing his cane and hurrying toward the door. Your leg's not in good shape. Better to wait here. It's getting late anyway. I'll host a feast at the residence tonight, and we'll welcome General Wang together, Qin Weining said, patting his shoulder gently. Fine. You'd better drink with me properly tonight. Then, Lu Qingshan said, deciding not to push the idea of rushing to camp himself. Don't worry, I'll make sure you drink your fill tonight, Qin Weining said, smiling, and hurried out of the courtyard. Brother, what's got you in such a rush? A soft, gentle voice called out just as Qin Weining stepped outside. Wei Nyang, perfect timing. General Wang has come to the city. Go get the evening feast arranged. I want to host him properly tonight, Qin Weining said, full of energy at the sight of her. Note, This chapter opens with Qin waning, and his sister at the residence, away from me. So I'll give that bit in third person first, then switch to my own voice once I'm in the scene at the banquet. General Wang? The woman asked. The one who's won battle after battle. The one who crushed 70,000 Chong and who riders. This was Qin Wenyang, eldest daughter of the Qin family and Qin Waning's own sister. Though already 28 and still unmarried, she was strikingly beautiful, her looks carefully kept all these years, graceful brows, deep clear eyes, skin like snow, a full and elegant figure, a waist slender as a willow branch. In the wind, word around the city said that if she hadn't kept herself shut away from the world for so long, the title of First Beauty of Anxi Commandery would never have gone to Lu Rushua instead. 10 years back, a young scholar caught one glimpse of her and was so struck he composed lines comparing her to a beauty unforgettable, impossible to stop thinking of even for a single day. That moment alone had drawn the attention of countless young men from noble and wealthy families across the region. But 3 different fiancés of hers had all died unexpectedly, one after another, earning her a reputation as bad luck for husbands. So at 28, she remained unmarried, a fact the whole city still gossiped about. That's him. General Wang Hu. Qin Waning confirmed, nodding. Understood. Go on, brother, you've got things to do, she said, eyes flickering, with a small nod. Thank you for handling this, he said, and hurried off toward the camp. Yenner, tell the kitchen and the tea house to prepare the finest feast they can, and quickly, Qin Wenyang told her maid. Yes, miss, Yenner said, bowing and rushing off toward the kitchens. This General Wang Hu. He must be quite something physically, Qin Wenyang murmured, a flicker of something thoughtful crossing her eyes as she touched her own smooth cheek, seeming to settle on some private decision. That evening, at the governor's residence, the grand banquet hall blazed with candlelight, every seat filled. Besides me, Qin Waning, Zheng Yuanshan, Xiaoyu, Zhang Dashan, and the other officials, the rest of the guests, were mostly notable figures of Anxi Commandery, men like Lu Qingshan from the old military Lu family, and Shun Sanqian, head of the city's largest grain merchant house. Once everyone settled in, soft music drifted through the hall, and 9 graceful dancers in feathered robes and colorful skirts entered and began moving to the rhythm at the center of the room. Everyone, let's raise a toast together, in thanks to General Wang for driving the Hu invaders out of our commandery, Qin Waning said, seated beside me at the head table, lifting his cup. Thank you all, I said, smiling, and drank with the rest of the room. General, you've been running yourself ragged across the whole commandery. Now that you're back in the city, you should stay a few extra days, Qin Waning said. I've already had men expand the old garrison commander's residence. It's yours now, temporarily serving as the general's mansion. So you'll have a proper place to call your own here in the city. If it's not to your taste later, I'll have a brand new mansion built for you. No need to build anything new, Governor. A place to rest my head is enough, I said, shaking my head. I had no interest in spending the people's money on something like that, or giving anyone reason to talk. Good. I'll have the workers finish quickly and get servants and entertainers settled in so you can move in soon. For now, you'll stay at my residence. Let me be a proper host, Qin Waning said, smiling, pleased I hadn't refused. Huh. A soft bed is the death of heroes, Governor. Sounds like you're trying to make our general forget the way home, Lu Qingshan called out from a lower table, joking. Military matters keep me busy these days. I really can't stay in the city long. I'll be heading back to Shishan Pass first thing tomorrow, I said, going along with the joke. Of course, with the fighting just settled and winter coming, the general has plenty to attend to. I should have thought of that, Qin Waning said, a little wistful. Shun Sanqian stood and bowed toward me. General, I am Shun Sanqian of the Shun Grain House. I've long heard of your remarkable feats, and it's an honor to finally meet you in person. Governor Qin told me about you, that you opened your granaries to help the refugees during the siege. Good work, I said, eyes steady. Starting next month, your grain house will supply all the food for the Northern Pacification Army. Thank you, General. The Shun family will follow your lead from now on, and we won't let you down, Shun Sanqian said, bowing low, full of surprised delight. As long as all of you truly care about this commandery, I'll make sure none of you regret it. Let's work together and make Anxi thrive, I said, raising my cup to the room. Don't worry, General. We'll stand united, and we won't let you down, Qin Wenyang said, speaking for the group. Good. Let's drink to it. I laughed and drained my cup. A few rounds of drinks and dishes later, the hall had loosened up, conversation flowing easily, everyone in good spirits. The music shifted from the full ensemble to a single zither, and the 9 dancers filed out, replaced by a single woman in palace dress, her face hidden behind a white veil. She had a full, graceful figure, her hair piled high, and as she danced, the golden ornaments in her hair swayed and caught the light. Qin Wenyang, somewhere between drunk and sober, suddenly froze, staring at the dancer. Something about her felt deeply familiar, especially her eyes, carrying that same faint touch of sadness he knew so well. What is it, Governor? I asked, caught up in watching the dancer myself. Her slim waist, her full figure, the graceful curve as she moved, those soft, watery eyes. I felt my throat go a little dry, if I'm honest. Nothing. Must be the wine, Qin Wenyang said, shaking his head. It's getting late, Governor. Maybe you should rest. I think I'll turn in myself, I said, stretching and yawning. Good idea. I'll have someone prepare a bath and a room for you, General. We'll share breakfast in the morning, Qin Wenyang said, nodding.